There you go. There you go. We're going to give you time to speak tonight. In the Scotland Yard.
Whatever praise I can get.
They're not here for us. It's a full house, man. They're not here for you.
No, they're not here for me. Yeah, a lot of them are. Oh goodness. Oh God. I don't need any of that. Okay.
Don't call order yet. I'm going ahead.
For the special city council meeting, we're going to have an agenda item to discuss Albert Glover's position.
All right.
Actually, we just had December 16th, so.
Huh? Yeah. They're all here for
Yeah.
the chief. They're all here for the chief. Okay. Huh?
Act of line in the John back there.
A line?
Yeah, a line to get in the John.
Well, there's a line out there too.
No.
All right, let's rock and roll. Let's roll.
What are you trying to turn us into?
Huh? Well, he lost my other one. You didn't mail it to him. No, it didn't. Somehow it got lost in the mail. No, I've had mine. It hadn't shown up yet? That check never showed up. What happens in December? I don't know. It hadn't been returned either. It hadn't come back to the... What happened to the Fu Man?
I shaved the road staff. Are you waiting?
Well, the only thing I can know is that when she showed up, when this lady showed up, she goes, I don't have a helmet. And then in a minute she came back and she goes, I got a helmet. What's the helmet in my car? Because apparently he did not want to take care of a brain damaged person later on. She left. Then she goes, he put the helmet in the car because he didn't want me to be brain damaged and him have to take care of me the rest of his life. I go, he wasn't thinking of me. He was thinking of himself. I was probably in the back somewhere. Who is that lady right there? I can't remember.
I don't know her.
The one issue.
What about her?
I was going through the presentation and I realized on the facilities they had the wrong slides in here, or slides that I didn't care for. I'll put it that way.
I can't remember.
So I changed these slides out on that one, but all of their presentations will have the two slides that are incorrect.
I think we've got a list.
No,
I
they
think
want
we've
to.
got a list of everybody. All
From what, Facebook?
Sit down. We got to start.
right.
Okay, sit down, fancy boy.
Maybe they won't pay attention.
I saw it as a forward. That's what I asked.
Yeah. Because if you open it back up again, let me see.
The only two who get
No,
a big
for whatever reason.
Oh, Floyd. There's Floyd. Floyd.
One, the master one
report
over
back
there.
to the
Up here, Floyd.
Her thing.
We back what?
I bet
Back
because
up
we
here,
didn't
Floyd.
We didn't save it.
Sorry.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. I mean, yeah, it's,
Before I make
you don't want to go
announcement.
changing all of it on each of their slides anyway. It'll just be,
I don't see the chief.
if the question comes up,
Chief
we'll tell them.
outside?
Those were,
All right.
if it doesn't come up, then we'll go, okay, so I pay attention.
All right. We'll call the meeting of the City Council to order and state that the notice for this meeting was duly posted. There is a quorum of City Council. Everyone is here, and if you will stand, our Pledge of Allegiance and presentation of the flag will be done by St. Thomas More Boy Scout Troop, number 99, I think. Are they here? Are the Boy Scouts back there, Chris? There they are. All right, guys, you got to present the colors. Are you here by yourself? Yes, sir. Oh, well, you get attaboy. Well, you get to stand up there and lead the Pledge of Allegiance then. You can just turn around there and we'll... What? Wait a minute. Here they come.
Here they come.
Uh-huh.
There they are. That's the time.
Yeah.
But it's a test.
Yeah, y'all know what to do with the flag over there, don't you? Yeah. All right. Are you ready? All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There you go, guys. Dismissed. Dismissed. All right.
Way to go, Flo.
I have some presentation to make tonight, and the first one, Floyd and I are going to present this jointly because this is a project that, first of all, is in his district, but also is one that I think all of us here in the city are very proud of. As you well know, I guess we've been in our new city center for a little over a year now, and we've been continually working on it for the past 4 years, it seems like. But one of the areas that was lacking was some landscaping around the front. We just didn't feel like that we were in a financial position to do what was probably needed, but there was an organization that said, you know what, we would like to help with that. And I'm very proud of the fact that there are organizations like this all over the city. But if you've not been by the city center, I encourage you to go by the city center your next time over there, cross over the bridge that we had to replace, and then tell me what you think about the beautification project that our Quail Valley Garden Club did on that facility. So this is a very small token of appreciation for us to say congratulations. This certificate is to commend the Quail Valley Garden Club, their gardening work at the Quail Valley City Center. And ladies, if you'll come up here, we'd just like to personally thank you from the city standpoint. Yes, Janice, come on up here. And we'll let you say anything you want to say, because it looks like you brought a speech with you. But this is one thing that I'm most proud of, is that there are volunteer organizations like this in this city that step up and help us beautify this city, whether it's the esplanades or the entrances to our subdivisions that the HOAs get involved in. It's just, it's amazing that organizations like this recognize that need and are committed to doing it. And we just wanted to personally thank you all for the work that you've done there. And I say work because you got out there physically for doing this. I saw you out there, and not only with their funds, but with their hands. So thank you all for doing that for us.
We have a lot more to do, so.
You step up here.
Well, we're still working on the project. The sprinkler system has to be finished, mulch has to be put in. We planted like 14 trees last year, and we have more to do. So we're working hard to raise money to make the club look awesome, and it's beginning to look that way.
It is.
The city center, yes, the
That's
city
right,
center.
We still say that. It's hard to get away from that.
But we've had a lot of compliments, and we've had a great group of women work together to sell
Yeah, tell them where
tons.
you raise your money.
Well, we sell caladiums, and we have a backyard tour that Janice is in charge of. Mary was the creative director of the new city center, and we've sold like 26,000 bulbs so far. So that helps a lot. So most of our money does go back into the community. And since most of us have lived there for like 30 years, we're willing to put ourselves out there. So
next time you need caladium bulbs, these ladies, that's what they raise their money from, so let them know. So, but again, thank you all for coming.
we're always willing to help.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna take two. Hang on, wait a minute, Ken. Thank you all. Okay, Chief. By the way, Chief, the Cowboys are still ahead of you. So you leave this city with that little memory back here. Anyway, as many of you probably know, and I think probably that's why we got such a big crowd of people back here. I don't think they were here for us. Chief, I think they were here for you. You know, Chief Fitzgerald has decided to go back to, man, I don't know why, but he wants to go back to Pennsylvania. Wants to go back to Allentown. And, you know, we're here tonight to just say thank you to Chief Fitzgerald and his entire family for the 4.5 years that the Chief has been here with us. You know, I will just say personally that Chief Fitzgerald has brought a lot of new innovative ideas to Missouri City. Things that anytime you have change, people bring different ideas, and it was very rewarding for us, the Chief and I, to be asked this past year to go to Arlington, Virginia, and serve on a panel of police departments, I guess an international conference they had in Arlington, Virginia, to talk about a lot of the innovative things that he and I have worked together on in the 4.5 years. Their biggest interest was how do we get money from the federal government, right? It takes a lot of begging, and the Chief and I were good at doing that. But, you know, Chief Fitzgerald is recognized nationwide for those efforts, and a lot of people have been trying to hire him over the years. They just finally touched home, didn't they? They did. They did. So anyway, I've got a little proclamation here that's really, it's a dedication of your firearm. And I call these my Glocks and clock ceremonies. But anyway, in recognition of over 4.5 years of dedicated and loyal service for the City of Missouri City Police Department and other good and valuable consideration, the City of Missouri City wishes to show its appreciation to Joel Fitzgerald for his efforts to protect the lives, homes, and property of the citizens of the City of Missouri City, and does hereby convey to him one Glock Model 23 caliber handgun with a serial number on it, hadn't been filed off, firearm used by him in executing his duties, and witness here of me, Mayor of Missouri City. So. There are a lot of other people here that are going to come up and say some things, so just stand aside. The city manager is going to be the first one.
Thank you, Mayor. It's one of these things, it's been an amazing 2 years to have been able to work with Joel. He's been here for 4.5 years, and if you think about what the police department has become and how he has motivated and pushed that department to become one of the premier law enforcement agencies in this state, if not in the country, it is an amazing thing. Just as far as looking at kind of the laundry list of accomplishments that the police department has had, there are a few that I wanted to pick out just to make sure y'all understand that it's not just hyperbole that we're talking about up here when we talk about just it's amazing of what Joel has accomplished. He created the innovative Missouri City Police Community-Oriented Policing HOA program that most of you, if y'all haven't been involved in this, you've at least probably heard about it or been asked as a citizen or a resident to become part of it and be part of the team with the police department. He reorganized the police department and led them to become the 18th police agency to be recognized by the Texas Recognition Standards. He is also one of organized the first of ongoing monthly regional criminal investigation division meetings that they have, bringing the different groups together of Houston, Fort Bend County, and other agencies in the area to be able to share information and to talk about, what crime is happening. Criminals just don't look at city limits and say, well, I'll just stay right here. They cross boundaries, and that's one of the things that he came in and he helped promote and push is we have to work together. It's not just the Missouri City Police Department, it is everybody in this area and region working together. He led the paradigm shift towards community-oriented policing and made it to where this became a mantra for every police officer and patrol officer out there, that they know the people walking the streets, that they roll down their windows and they say hi. They see how they're doing, and they make sure that they know what's going on in each of those neighborhoods that they're going through. He transformed the Missouri City Police Department into the premier T-close training provider in Fort Bend County. He brings people from around the country in order here to go through things such as the Northwestern University, Penn State University, and other national training facilitators that we have that come here. He got involved in the schools and implemented the innovative elementary school outreach initiative, I Choose to Follow the Rules program, that even people in Washington, D.C. were asking about and saying, how can we do stuff like that and push that out across the country? And he opened the Missouri City Police Department's first police mini-station, really being able to have just an on-the-ground touch to those neighborhoods and to those who are saying, how can I get to know my police officers better? Where's a place where I can feel comfortable to come talk to the police officers and just be able to not to share a cup of coffee, but as well as report just some concerns that they have? Joel was able to touch all those people, whether it be in the schools, whether they be in the neighborhoods, whether they be even across the country, and showed them that Missouri City was just an exceptional place to be. There's a reason that we are known for being one of the safest cities in the state, and it's because of the hard work of the Missouri City Police Department, and especially because of the prompting and pushing that Joel Fitzgerald led y'all through. And so with that, Joel, we say thank you. And with city staff, we have actually a gift for you. I think they threatened to just put it in my office and have you stare at me. So, Communications Department helped put that together. And for Joel, the Show Me City salutes your superior service.
Come on, Doc. We're saying there are other people here that want to recognize you, so. Doc Holliday from Congressman Green's office.
I didn't want to mess up the picture.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Chief. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. On behalf of Congressman Al Green, Congressman of the 9th District, he's not here tonight. He's in Washington, D.C. I really hate to lose you. There's not many people that can say you never heard a bad thing about the police chief. And nobody ever heard a bad thing about you. We really appreciate you. We have this flag that was flown over the Capitol. I'd like to present to you on behalf of Congressman Green. Good luck with all that you do. Hey, man. Take care of yourself.
Ron, State Representative Ron Reynolds.
Well, I won't belabor what's already been said by the mayor and the city manager and Doc Holliday. I want to say, I remember 4.5 years ago when the chief came here and we had lost the former police chief, Ron, and I said, he has some big shoes to fill. But I can tell you that when we had that reception at Unity Bank, he had a great spirit about him. He was very personable, and he's brought that charisma and that kind of personality to the neighborhoods where people feel very safe in talking to him about issues that impact their communities. And so in addition to being a great leader, he's a great communicator. And I think we ought to start calling him Dr. Fitzgerald because he completed his doctorate. That deserves a round of applause. And in addition to that, being a great police chief, a great communicator, as you can see with his family here, he's a great family man, a great husband, a great father. He is, the only thing bad I can say about him, he's an Eagles fan. That's the only, I never could work that out with him, you know. I would taunt him about that. But we're really going to miss him. And surely the city is at a loss. Hopefully we'll be able to get another great person to fill his shoes, because we really have made some significant strides in becoming a very, very even safer city under his leadership. And Chief Fitzgerald, we're certainly going to miss you. And I thought about what could I give you that you'll never forget about Texas. And I thought that instead of a flag, which I've already given you before, I would give you a pin that I'm going to make sure that you wear each and every year when you think about how much you miss Texas. This is a pin from Austin, that's from the state of Texas with the Lone Star State. Pennsylvania will never be Texas, okay? So we'll miss you. God bless you.
Thank you.
We also have Lovelace Mitchell here from Senator Ellis's office. Are you just here to recognize him, Lovelace, or do you want to say something?
Y'all done said everything, nothing else I
Okay.
That's why I didn't get up.
I see our District Attorney John Healy in the back. John, you want to come up? Hope I can recognize everybody back there. Proud.
I don't have to tell you what a fantastic chief you are losing. He's done a great job. His accomplishments have been recognized and enumerated by the city manager. Let me just say that Joel Fitzgerald has done a great job of not only advancing many new initiatives for the benefit of the police department, but also for the citizens of Missouri City. He has been a fantastic communicator. He's instilled that important concept of active, vivid communication within his troops, and it's really spilled on over. I'd suggest that it's a great, great relationship between Mo City and all the law enforcement agencies in Fort Bend County, including my office. And he's put the police department on a platform where I would call them the Scotland Yard of police departments in Fort Bend County. I have nothing but my friendship that will never end and my hand to extend to the chief. Thank you, Chief.
I know Commissioner Prestige was going to try to make it, but I don't think he's here. But Chief, he sends his best wishes. I also think that Commissioner Patterson was supposed to try to make it, and there's a crowd back there, guys. So if you're here, raise your hand. If not, let's see. Chief Cron, I see Chief back there. Chief, come on up.
Oh, yeah.
Chief Bonnie Cron from Stafford, Texas.
Thank you, Mayor Owen and Council. Y'all are going to have to quit hiring police chiefs, or I'm going to have to retire. Because this is going to be working on the 8th police chief. Joe was the 7th police chief that I worked with, and I broke into quite a few of them over here. They've all been a pleasure to work with. I would say Joe Fitzgerald has been a double pleasure, because not only I had the privilege to work with him, but I've also had the privilege to work with his wife, who works with the Stafford Police Department. Joel is truly going to be missed. I can't tell you in the 4.5 years he's been here, how many lives he's touched throughout this community, not just in Missouri City, but throughout Fort Bend County. I'm amazed how many people I run across that have met Joel and how impressed they've been with him and what he's done in Missouri City. As we say in Texas, a cowboy who throws a big loop gathers in a whole lot of people. And Joel Fitzgerald has definitely done that. We wish you the best of luck in Pennsylvania. My wife specifically, and we just rushed in from Del Rio. I got home about 5:50. And I run through the shower, run through the closet, and run out the door. And my wife specifically told me to be sure and tell y'all, do not forget about your friends in Texas, because we certainly will not forget about y'all. Thank you.
We've got Chief Brinkley here, don't we? From Sugar Land? Chief's not here, huh? We got Steve Rippin here, though. Steve, come on. You can come up.
Bonnie, I don't know if I can follow Bonnie. I've never been able to. I will say that law enforcement doesn't stop at any community's borders. And quite frankly, we as a community of law enforcement have got a long history of working together that quite frankly, Joel only enhanced. So we are really, 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 truly going to miss you, Joel. And we wish you the very best. Thank you.
All right, before I call Pastor Murphy up here, did I miss anybody else that wanted to say something, bad or good, about him? All right. I knew there'd be some.
Chief Fitzgerald, on behalf of the entire Missouri City Police Department, we want to present you with this medal patch from the police department. We want to thank you for your service and dedication and all your experience. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You got to put that on the hood of your car.
This will hang prominently wherever I work, and I promise that.
Yeah. Wherever he hangs it, people go, where's Missouri City, Texas? Come on, Pastor. Pastor Murphy is the chaplain for the police department, so.
You know, I was taught when I was in seminary to be instant in season and out of season, and I was not ready for this tonight. But I want to thank Chief Fitzgerald. I had worked to try to get a chaplaincy service going in Missouri City since back, well, about 12 years ago. And we could not get it going, but since Chief got here, working together with him, he wanted that. And we've got, I think, a pretty good staff in our chaplaincy service now to help our officers. It's all been because of him being willing to let this happen. And I want to thank him. We're going to miss him around here. I'm going to miss going in his office every week and bothering him. Yeah, he'll be busy and I'll walk in and say, hey, let's talk a minute. And he's always ready to talk with anyone who needs to talk with him. And we're going to miss you, brother.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
I appreciate it.
You take care.
Actually, your turn.
I promise not to make this as long as my introductory speech when I got here in Missouri City, but I can tell you this is what it's all about. It's all about everybody in this room, whatever background you come from, whatever part of the world you come from. There's one thing that this police department will always represent, and that's each and every one of you. Missouri City Police Department has a willingness, we display a willingness every day to work with each and every person in this community, and they'll continue to do so. I feel good about that because I have good people, and you know, I definitely have pushed this organization to be, you know, the best that it can be here in Fort Bend County, and I will continue I guess that legend or that legacy will continue because I got good people like Assistant Chief Berezin, Assistant Chief Jemison, and Assistant Chief Berezin will be the interim chief. So I want you all to just as supportive as you've been. Just in coming out, just in citing some of the good things that we've done as a police department to get behind them. They're going to need it. I mean, the community is demanding. And we try to meet the demands of the community and try to remain as dynamic and as flexible as we can. But it's not without the help of the community that we have achieved so much. The community made this all possible. I can set the sail in whatever direction we're trying to go. But without community support, we probably would have gotten hardly anything done. So to build a relationship, to build the kind of relationship we have between a police department and its community, we require the help of the community. We got that. We got that in spades, I can say, because from every walk of life, we have people that are supportive of this police department and supportive of what we try to do on a day-to-day basis, what we try to accomplish with children in the community. Everyone understands that we're pointed in the right direction. They get behind us, and the support that you give makes it possible and has made the success that we've enjoyed possible. So for every police chief, every former chief, every politician that's come up to talk, I can tell you that this has been the easiest place to work in. It's been easy because I've been dealing with people that want to see change in the community and want to keep the things going in a positive direction. So my pleasure to work with each and every one of you. It's something that I'll never forget. It's a portion of my life that I can't replace. I thank each and every person, each and every police officer, each and every citizen employee that we've had that have made it possible for us to achieve so much. I don't want to forget. I always forget Miss Collins. I forget her at every event, so I definitely want to single her out. She's the real chief of the police department. Ask anybody. She keeps things going on a day-to-day basis. So, again, get behind the people that are here. We succession plan well. We have good people in place that can keep this department moving in the direction that it needs to move in. So just as supportive as you were of me, be just as supportive of Assistant Chief, now Interim Chief Mike Berezin, because I have every confidence in the world that he'll be able to lead this department, if not accelerate what I've done. So thank you all. And it's going to be very hard to leave, but as all things end from time to time, and this portion of my life is ending. I'll be back, I'll visit, I'll still be around, and I'll expect to get calls. I'll expect to be harassed by the different council members and mayors that support the wrong team. I'll remember each and every interaction that I've had with members of the city departments. I know that, we don't always see eye to eye all the time, but this has been a very good learning experience for me. And I'll only take that learning experience and do better in my next position, because I know that this has been valuable, as valuable to me as I hope it was to you. I see some old council faces in here. Ms. Ryder, thank you as well. You're one of the first council people that actually approved my hire, so I appreciate that. And I'd also like to thank Frank Simpson, who passed away. I wish Frank could be here, but again, Frank had a lot to do with bringing me here. I mean, somebody from Pennsylvania didn't have experience in Texas to take me and to invest the time and effort in allowing me to accelerate the things that I did, to put the programs together. It took a lot of gumption on his part. And he was a very good man and should be recognized for putting me in a position to help this community. So thank you. Thank you, Frank. Thank you all.
How about them Cowboys? All right, go ahead. Gather up all your stuff there, Chief. That's gonna look good on the hood.
Yeah, he shouldn't go far. He's got the next item.
Huh?
He shouldn't go far. He's actually got the next item.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You got the next item on the agenda anyway.
Huh? how many more days? He's off and on for the next month. He's through December, but he'll be in Allentown part of that time.
Yeah.
We're just
Don't forget
we're
us.
just paying. We're gonna pay him for the month, and then kind of for consulting fees, but kind of he needs to get up to Allentown by the middle of December. But it's one where he also wants some time to get back and forth. So we just worked out a deal.
Let me chase you down.
Stay registered in Texas.
We're doing a special reception for him on the 11th, like around lunchtime.
Face.
You know, I received a telephone call from a reporter in Allentown. I shared this with Joel, and he wanted to know how the chief would be able to function in a small town like in a big town like Allentown, coming from a small town like Missouri City. And so I said, I don't know, you need to ask him, because he came to us from Philadelphia.
All right, Chief. Let's talk about this service project you all did.
All right. For our fifth year, we were able to successfully solicit residents and members of the city to support our Thanksgiving project. It's called Operation Thanksgiving Stuff the Squad Car. 5 years in a row, starting off with Officer Sonny McClamrock and now with Sonny McClamrock and Yvette Kelly. We've worked diligently to solicit the help of citizens and other city employees to give of themselves to support people in the time of Thanksgiving, to stuff as many squad cars or fire department vehicles that they can to support those that are less fortunate in our society. For another year, we've been very successful, and I'd like to give Yvette and Sonny a chance to talk to you a little bit about the program and talk to you about some of the successes that we enjoyed at Operation Thanksgiving. And I'd also like to mention we had help this year, the Honey Brown Hope Foundation with Miss Tammy Campbell. Thank you for your support. Ms. Campbell helped us with the event. She helped us advertise the event because she honored the sacrifice made by President Kennedy. And through that event, we were able to leverage that advertising to make this event the best possible event we could this year. So thank you, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you.
Yvette?
Oh, my God. How are you guys doing? Oh, Chief, you are going to be missed. I'm like tearing up in the back, so I'm trying to make sure my makeup is okay. But again, I'm Officer Yvette Kelly. I'm the Community Resource Officer for Missouri City Police Department, and that's Officer Sonny McClamrock. And pretty much we handle a lot of the programs that are being offered by the police department. And one of the programs is the Operation Thanksgiving Stuff the Squad Car and Fire Truck. This year we did partner with the fire department in doing this event, and it was a huge success. It's a citywide event. Not only the police and fire, we had every city department to participate by gathering and collecting food. We had a lot of volunteers. We had the Mayor's Youth Commission come out. We had about 30 kids out there volunteering despite the cold weather and rain. Everyone was out there just having a great time with it. So Officer McClamrock, he's the one that spearheaded this about 4.5 years ago. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about the program.
Well, I can say with a thankful heart that we actually exceeded our goal this year. Our goal was set out to do stuff 10 cars and a fire truck. And when they told me they had just ordered a new fire truck and hadn't put any equipment on it, I thought, oh boy. But that just gave us more room to put food on it. This was the largest event this year. We had roughly about 70 cars pile through the fire bays and fill up the cars. We had over 30 volunteers to come out from all types of organizations and churches. And this was also the year that we exceeded our pre-food drive. We placed cans all around the city departments and asked them to fill it up. And this year they filled up approximately 3 to 4 squad cars worth of food, to the point to where City Hall actually contacted us and asked us for more cans so we could so they could fill it up, because what they had was overflowing. And so we're very excited about
this event, I was contacted by all three beneficiaries, Second Mile Missions, Bethel Ministries, and this year we also gave to Fort Bend County Women's Shelter. The police department works hand in hand with the women's shelter. We send a lot of our victims of family violence up there and their families, and they actually have a place for them to stay. They have limited beds, and they also feed them and have toys and stuff for their children, so we decided to give to them this year, and so they were extremely grateful, and they said that they received more food this year from us than they had in previous past. And so it is because of the community coming out, especially in the time, you know, of need during Thanksgiving and giving out of your hearts. And, you know, I do want to say this to my chief. 5 years ago, I met him, and I came to him and said that I wanted to do something, and he said, whatever you want to do to build community, I'm game for. And so every year he pushed me to go further and further to get more and more people involved. And so it's because of his passion for community oriented policing that we're able to do this today. So thank you.
Thank you all again. Let me say this too. Yvette Kelly was actually the first Missouri City police officer I ever met. And one of the reasons why I even looked at Texas as a place to relocate, my wife and I were visiting Texas. Yvette knows this story, but not many other people. My wife and I were visiting Texas, and I was looking around for police chief opportunities, and I met Yvette Kelly at an off-duty job in Houston, and I talked to her for a while, and I said, man, she's very professional and you know, very sharp. So when Missouri City's job advertisement came up, I remembered Yvette, and I remembered her professionalism, and Yvette Kelly is one of the reasons why I came here.
Thank you, Chief. All right. We recently had a delegation visit us from China, which we do from time to time, and I wanted to give Danny an opportunity to tell everybody about that visit, why they came, and some of the activities that they did while they were here. So we put it on the agenda for you all to see a report and some pictures, hopefully.
Actually, have a video to go with it.
A video?
That communications is put together.
All right.
And
I can tell that's a government job over 4 people observing and 1 working.
As economic development continues to thrive citywide, interest from the international community is also growing. The city's successes are expanding beyond the Houston
Do we not show these before?
area and across the world, as dignitaries from foreign countries are visiting the Show Me. As economic development continues to thrive citywide, interest from the international community is also growing. The city's successes are expanding beyond the Houston area and across the world, as dignitaries from foreign countries are visiting the show.
Yeah, while we're working on that, why don't we go to the public comment section. I have Frank Hester wants to make some comments from the public comment section, so let's do that while we're working on that. Frank?
Mayor and City Council, I just wanted to thank each of you all, and particularly Maria Gonzalez and Stacy Walker for the outstanding event you had at the City Center a couple of weeks ago to recognize the volunteers that volunteer on the various boards and commissions in the city. I think it was a great event. Many people were very pleased with that. They were proud to have served the city and be recognized, and I just wanted to thank you all on behalf of all of us that serve on various boards and commissions, and thank you for the outstanding event.
Frank, that's great. I'm glad you brought it up because it was a great opportunity. Are we still working?
Stacy went back there to check on the sound box to see if that was part of the issue that was, as far as what happened to sound.
Make it work.
I don't know.
Maybe modified maybe changes somewhere along the way between then and now?
We can hear it, but it's low. It was.
Nope.
Very low. It's not usually, it shouldn't be as low.
I recommend we pass on that item for now. We got a lot of people waiting.
I know. All right, guys, we're gonna move forward. And we're gonna come back to it. Let's move to the staff reports. 5A is a presentation and recommendation of the Bond Exploratory Committee. Who has that?
We have actually a number of, we'll start off with Eunice Ryder. Eunice was the chairwoman of the Bond Exploratory Committee. And so she's come to, as far as provide the recommendations of the Bond Exploratory Committee. I think there's actually some in the room as well that you'll probably recognize.
Very good. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eunice Ryder, and I chair the Missouri City Bond Committee. We are a 34-member committee. We began meeting in January. We got presentations from city staff, starting with Wes Vela, the Director of Finance, who said, we can issue as many bonds as you want, but if you issue more than 40 million, it will require a tax increase. We subsequently held a vote, and it was unanimous to limit the bond issue to $40 million. The folks who served on the committee are terrific folks. If they are here, would you raise your hand or stand up so that we have a few. They each came to the meetings with their own ideas, and the input was greatly appreciated. We had 5 issues that we discussed: drainage, public facilities, parks, transportation, and fire and police. If we want to start with Wes, who will make a short presentation.
Very good.
Should have just handed it to you.
No, that's fine. Thank you. I'm just really going to go over this slide here that restates what Ms. Eunice Ryder said. The anticipated debt rate currently is 19 cents, and this rate should remain constant throughout a 10-year period of time, and that would free up a capacity of a borrowing of approximately $40 million. And again, it's over a 10-year period of time. That's, of course, assuming appraisal values do step up, 1 to 2% per year throughout that period as well. So there are some variables.
Wes, I know there was I don't usually read them, but there was a recent comment made on a blog that why would we be issuing another $40 million worth of bonds when we haven't spent the ones we've already issued. So you might talk about that a little bit.
Well, what we plan on, I mean, of course, all that has to do with when we when you voted for those bonds anyway, we said that we wouldn't raise the debt rate any more than a certain amount of money. And so those are planned to be out over within this next 10 years to be pulled down as well.
And they are, I mean,
most of those are from the 2003 bond election that are remaining that cover drainage and transportation. So
and they will be spent
they will
in
be
time.
spent. They are actually part of our.
And these issued when that money is gone and is needed to do the other projects.
Right. Okay. Those projects are as part of our current capital improvement program, 5-year capital improvement program. This looks out over the next 5 to 10 years and says what are those additional projects that may need to be included in future CIPs.
Well, I think that's the key. What additional things do we need to do in addition to what has already been issued? So that 40 million plus what's still outstanding is still going to be spent, and it's still going to be spent within the debt service percentage that we allocated without raising taxes.
That's right.
Well, the other thing, in good financial planning, you don't wait till you run out of bond funds. You get the authorization prior to. So you're in a position to have a continuation of activities.
And this is a multi-year plan. I mean, we're not going to spend $40 million in 1 year.
No.
We couldn't do that much. You know, Scott and his group couldn't do that many projects if we wanted to, but we will not issue that debt until we do the projects.
And we have the capacity.
And when we have the capacity within the departments to do it. So, but I appreciate, you know, the committee's time that they spent on coming up with the priorities. I know that when it first started out, it was probably a much larger figure than this, as it always is, and then for them to sit down and to come up with and prioritize those things and try to allocate some money in all of those areas that I think all the citizens of Missouri City are interested in, those 5 project units. And I applaud your committee and the hard work that they've done to carve it down to what we're looking at today.
We were talking about hundreds of millions to start, and we did whittle it down to 40. Scott will let you know what drainage projects are projected for the bond issue.
Mayor and Council, we looked at several different projects, but the leading project recommendation from the Bond Election Committee was to spend approximately $6.5 million in drainage, focus in the Willow Waterhole area that's shown on your map. The city is currently doing a master plan update for drainage. This involves our area north of 90A, involves the Fondren Park, the Fond Meadow, the North and South Gardens area out there. The results of that master drainage plan, this would be money to do the implementation of that master drainage plan, and this is based upon master drainage plans that go back to the mid-'80s on that we've worked with in conjunction with Fort Bend County and the City of Stafford and made some improvements in that area, and this would be to continue that utilizing the latest and greatest technology and also serve to help reduce some of the issues we have on drainage in the Fondren Park, Fond Meadow area out there. The city's drainage philosophy has always been prevent structure flooding, maintain passable major thoroughfares in a 100-year event, and reduce and eliminate as many existing issues as we have, and then to also maximize developable area of the city. And this falls in line with that philosophy.
Good, thank you.
Public safety. We lumped it into fire and police. This is where the bulk of the money was really needed. It was real tough to pare this part down, but I'll let Russell talk about fire.
Thank you, Mrs. Ryder. In 2008, we commissioned a study from a consultant to look at our future needs for fire stations. Fire Stations 6 and 7 were identified, and Fire Station 6 was identified to be in the area of Lake Olympia Parkway and Village Brook Drive. This will maximize and help us maintain or improve our current ISO rating of a 3. It also helps us improve our response times. The department's goal is to meet the national standard of responding to 90% of all of our emergencies in 4 minutes or less. And that 4 minutes is the drive time from the fire station to the actual scene. So what you have in front of you is, on the left-hand side of the slide, is a graphical picture of a 1.5 mile radius around a fire station that gives you pretty much a rule of thumb for that 1.5 mile drive time of 4 minutes or less. And you can see that there is a hole, that is a space that is vacant with the response time in the areas of Lake Olympia Parkway. The picture on the right is actual pictures of the fire stations and the future fire stations of 6 and 7. Fire Station 5 is currently under construction through the development agreement with C&M Mudd. So what we did as a fire department, we took 14 different intersections around the proposed location of Fire Station 6. Under the current station deployment, we can meet 2 intersections. We can meet the goal of the 4 minutes or less drive time. Adding this station, we actually increased this to 10 of those intersections that we are meeting the response times. It's important to note that the intersection that's listed off of Vicksburg Drive, that's an estimate based on the completion of Vicksburg Drive to Lake Olympia Parkway. So the response times will improve greatly by the addition of this station. Also, it is important to note that the station is going to add additional resources to keep fire trucks in their districts. When things do get busy, we have to shift resources. So you may have a fire truck coming off of Texas Parkway responding down to Vicksburg or to those areas when incidents like that do happen. So by adding this additional resource into the city, it comes into the overall package of the city and reduces the number of times that resources are pulled from other areas of the city. It also provides another resource to go north off of Texas Parkway in those areas. As far as the fire truck, based on the consultant's recommendation, we will be recommending a Quint apparatus. This assists us in meeting the ISO requirements under the current deployment model for a Quint concept. Questions? Thank you.
Yeah, I have one for Ed. And I remember attending one of those meetings, and for public safety, there was a lot of discussion about the police. Was any of that thought
You'll see that in the
process?
next. You'll see that in the next slide. We'll start talking about the Public Safety Center.
Gotcha.
Facilities, Val will handle, and we talked, it behooves me to tell council that the committee discussed this area in depth. Those of us who took a look at the study that was done by consultants regarding this building realized that there are significant problems that need to be addressed. There were members of the committee who felt like we should tear down this building and start over.
You talking about this building or the public safety
I'm talking about this building.
Oh.
I'm talking because facilities are both the part of public safety and part is this building. Part of it was and part of it, some of the folks there wanted to move the building south, and the general consensus after all was said and done was that the building should be looked at by a consultant, a space study done, and that brought to council. The same thing happened with the police department. The information we were given led us to believe that the policemen were sitting in jail cells, sitting in each other's lap, and the only upside was they had their own wash basin. But again, a space study should be done for that building in order to determine what the best procedure is. Val?
Here.
For the public safety headquarters, which, as you know, houses our police station, we have found that they are expanding rapidly and busting at the seams, if you will. The jail cells, they need more space in that area. Evidence room, for example, needs more space, a lot more space, as well as hardening. Administration, they could use more space there as well. So we had proposed looking at taking some money to consider acquiring additional land, perhaps maybe the adjacent property if it became available, retrofitting the existing space, however it would best fit for the situation, to which, as Ms. Ryder mentioned, that we would acquire some help in making that decision and taking a look at all the facts that are based in the PSHQ, and also considering where we're heading in the future. If we do plan on bringing in more police officers, more administrative staff or the like, and how that might affect how we provide service to our citizens. Also, Ms. Ryder referred to the City Hall complex. Building maintenance staff has identified at least $2 million in repairs that need to be made to the roofs to the buildings here at City Hall. That would include this building as well as the planning building and the community center. We do have multiple leaks that over time we just get to a point where you can't locate where they're really coming from. The roofs have reached their service lives and just in vast need of repair. These would be short-term repairs, and actually the repairs are planned in the current CIP, however they're unfunded. The remaining amount of funding that's proposed here would be used as seed funds, like Ms. Ryder mentioned, to establish a citizens group to take a look at how City Hall could be used in the future and serve the citizens, take a look at the services that we provide here, and, excuse me, as well as look at the growing population and what additional services we think we might provide in the future and as we grow and acquire more staff. And using the existing facility, we've taken a look at the studies here before, and we found that there could be a better allocation of the space and better use to serve our citizens.
I have one question. On the presentation that we have, Ed, it shows that facility is $6 million and another $6 million.
The one that's on here has been adjusted and shown the correct number, which is the $13 million that's up there.
Okay, because this one shows $3 million.
Right. And it should say 10 million.
Was there consideration given at that time to doing what the county has done in establishing annexes rather than relocating this particular facility? If we improve this particular facility, could we do what we have done with the PD and other areas, and where you would establish annexes that might house some of that other staff?
That wasn't specifically discussed at the bond committee that I recall.
It was not. That would be a decision for City Council.
Okay.
One of the big issues that was discussed was at City Hall, we're not growing staff, so it's not an issue of we need more space staff-wise. It is we have property over here on the north end of Missouri City that has potential to do something other than what it currently is. And what is it that City Hall could possibly be in conjunction with something else that brings population up here to this location?
And I guess taking into consideration, is it cheaper to tear it down and rebuild it than it is to put $2.7 million worth of repairs into an aging building?
The question of the $2.7 million was about really the immediate repairs over the next couple of years. So even if we decided, I hate to say tear the place down or to have something else, there's still roof issues
still
that
to spend that.
have to be addressed, yes.
But what I heard you say that was kind of mixed answers in relationship to building a new city hall or moving city hall or the recommendation. And I assume we're just going to accept the recommendations and then we're going to have a separate conversation.
There's a timeline that we'll show at the end, of which tonight is just the presentation, and then a couple of work sessions, and then council accept recommendations and move forward with whatever y'all want to move forward with.
Well, it sounds like we're going to have to use some other outside sources to help us
make
some
that
of these
decision.
decisions. Other groups.
one of the, first of all, I'd like to thank you and being the chair of this committee. And I also like to thank the committee members because there was a well thought out and then there was a great deal of zeal involved in meeting and trying to determine exactly what this bond package would be about. It's up to council after we get the recommendations from you in your presentation from you to go to work. The onus is on council. We're certainly going to listen attentively to what the committee has recommended. As I saw the presentation about the fire station, that was enlightening, and also about the drainage. But there are other things that has to be involved in this presentation that we have to consider well, because there's infrastructure in other parts of this that needs to be discussed and needs to be attended to, such as street repairs and also sidewalks. I may be getting ahead of myself with the presentation.
Yeah, that's in there.
Okay. The other part is that we, as far as City Hall is concerned, absolutely, and I'm in concurrence that we should have a space study, but also there's other intricate parts of that study, because what we're doing is we're putting funds, based on what reports I've gotten from staff, is we're putting funds to repair and, putting quick fixes on things that kind of eats up revenue, and it's a quick fix for the most part. So all of these things we're going to have to consider, but luckily we have a committee that has given us a lot of information to work with. I'm looking forward to working with council, and hopefully we're going to use the same zeal and the same type of wherewithal as we did just a couple of years ago when we had to make some hard decisions on how to spend bond monies. So I'm pretty much looking forward to that.
To reinforce Councilman Smith about tearing down a building, before doing that, I'd really like to see a thorough report from an engineering company, a third-party engineering company, to prove that it costs more to repair than building a new building. Yeah.
And it's one to where the amount we're asking for initially in here, that's in here, is for the repairs. And then there's the piece of that very thing of, we're not saying yet that the building should be torn down. That's a decision that council needs to make, working with different groups about what do you do with this property, what do you do with this facility in order for your next stage of City Hall. So that's all part of future discussions that we'll get into in future work sessions in the next month, as well as for y'all to then think about how do you want to then move that forward in reference to the upcoming bond election.
But these recommendations would go to the citizens to vote on, right?
No, well, they go to you. And so from here, it's one to where over the next month, our intent is by the end of January, early February, for you to be able to call what you feel as council comfortable with for a bond election. They may include the recommendations just as you see them tonight. They may include changes and adjustments to say, these are what we feel are more appropriate to bring forward. But tonight is, as far as Chairwoman Ryder and the committees, this is their recommendations to you, for you to start thinking about how do you as the council want to deal with them.
Thanks.
Yes, not only have I given you recommendations, as the city manager has said, but also a little bit of background of what went on in the committee prior to our making a recommendation.
So you got Parks, Chief?
Yes, Parks, Larry?
Eunice, do you want to give me background on that? Do you want to give me background?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Initially, Larry had a laundry list of things that he needed to do for parks that would enhance the city beautifully. Unfortunately, the money wasn't there to do all of them, but we did prioritize them, but pretty much have said, where can we get the best bang for the buck? Larry?
The first prioritization meeting,
the committee recommended funding for a second gym at the Recreation and Tennis Center. The second prior towards the meeting was for funding for $2.5 million of general park projects. And the need for the second gym results from the average of 35 users per hour in our peak times. That's average for the year. That's taking the slow times versus the really high usage times. In the summer, we've got anywhere from 50 to 60 participants in the gym. As we've programmed additional activities into the facility, volleyball, Zumba, boot camp, even some tennis activities in the gym when the weather's bad, and our summer day camp. When we get 53, I think was our big week in summer day camp for kids, they needed some gym time. When that happens, we have to clear the gym of those 35, 50, 60 youth and young adults who are playing basketball. They have nowhere to go then. So there is a need from a program standpoint to add a second gym. One of the more popular projects at our presentation was a skate park. There is one skate park in the area in another city, but it's a very old, not widely used. My plan for a skate park would include both skateboarders, inline skaters, and BMX bikes. Haven't determined a location yet. When you usually work with the skater crowd, you involve them in on the process. There are a couple potential locations, but nothing decided as of yet. I would like to see a possible some land acquisition involved also. There could be a need for a sports complex in this area, 30 acres. We've got a community park that's chock full of soccer fields, not really designed as a sports complex. When you have Little League baseball, softball, soccer, and then a park full of people, that park is a zoo. It'd be nice to alleviate some of the activities in that one certain park. An event park would be nice. What we've done with our events are getting so large. Buffalo Run Park for the 4th, City Hall complex for Santa. We've almost outgrown those venues. In my opinion, it would be nice to have a 20-acre area for special events. Right now, we have no dollars in the capital program, and we've got some aging playgrounds. There needs to be a phased-in program to replace our older sets. We can add shade to some of our playgrounds. Hunters Glen Park could use some shade over that playground very easily. So I would like to see a special needs playground in our park system also. We could also, based on council's recommendation or approval, have some rec and tennis center upgrades. One of the more popular areas in the rec center is our sports performance area in the fitness room. We've thought about having an outdoor sports performance area with some artificial turf and training outside. The tennis courts are getting used more and more every day, every month, and we're hosting events. It'd be nice to have bleachers in between the 2 court sets in the back on concrete pads with shade over them. Each individual court needs shade on top of that. I'd like to see a message board in front of the rec center, letting people know, not quite to the level that's in front of City Hall, but something similar to that. And beautification projects could be done throughout the city. There's a lot we can do here at City Hall, especially with Christmas coming up. We need to add more to the lighting that already exists. Our park signage is very old and outdated. Each park needs a new entry sign, rule signs, and the parks that do have trails, we need new trail signage on top of that. So those are my
Larry, you
suggestions.
mentioned something that I was going to ask you about, and it's something that I guess we could consider down the road, is pouring the slab for that second gym, but having outdoor basketball courts.
That's a possibility.
That they're cheaper than throwing the walls up right away, but it gives you that other gym that, when weather permits, the kids need to be outside anyway. You got 13 tennis courts that we took out from under a roof and put outside. There's nothing wrong with kids playing basketball or badminton or volleyball outside.
And when the doors are closed, there's still a place for them to go play
But then you
basketball.
pour the slab for the eventual building. That could be done, can it, Scott?
That could be done.
And then at a later date, you could add the roof and the walls, but designing it such that in that interim, it gives you that second gym, but it's an outside facility. And you said you're looking at some outside training facilities and stuff that could be done there. So
We've actually talked about an outdoor basketball court on the grounds.
where all these kids play today. I mean, you look around, that's where they're playing.
Outdoor courts are widely used. The Quail Green West, the covered basketball court, that's used a lot. Hunters Glen Park,
Exactly.
always used.
Okay.
Did I hear you say it covered tennis courts?
No,
It's talking about shade. for
shade
the-
structures over the bleachers, and then over maybe some benches on the courts also.
They didn't want you to get sunburned out there while you're
Yes, I
watching
didn't-
tennis.
I was trying to compute that.
The only question I have is, I remember the second gym and the first one was built. Didn't we do something with the foundation so that it could be ready or something like that?
The building is designed for a future expansion of a second gym, so it is designed that way. So it could be phased in as an implementation approach if council chose that option.
I guess the other thing is too that I see that out of all this is one of the lower 2.5. Is everything on that list that you had, is that doable with that?
No, 2.5 will fund the second gym,
If you built a full gym.
yes. And most of everything else is on the list, if
Yeah,
either or.
this was one to where the bond committee had some difficulty deciding what to recommend to the council. They wanted to see the 2.5 million move forward with Parks and Recreation, but this is really one where they presented this to council, for council to start making some decisions on, because they said either there's discussion about doing the second gym, or there's discussion about really being flexible for other parks projects. So when we do the work sessions, I think that's one where we're going to have to, as council, you'll have to flesh out a little bit further with what is it that you want to use that 2.5 million, if that's the amount you want to go with, what do you want to use that towards?
Isn't that also in 2003 or I forgot which one of the bonds that there was some money that's allocated or dedicated for parks? Or was that only for drainage and
Parks.
utilities?
That was
The
park
previous
funds.
ones, I thought there was some money
That
in
were
there.
park funds in 2003.
There was in 2003, however, most of those funds
Have been used. That we did use.
Normally,
Rec
every
center.
bond issue will address these major areas unless there's something that we're not doing.
Yeah.
But usually we have park on drainage and streets and all of that good stuff. Did y'all discuss land that we already own that's developable? Like we have the track next to Community Park, we have the acreage that we got acquired through the annexation of some property to Riverstone.
The area next to Rivers, I'm sorry, to Community Park is, it's less than 4 acres.
Well, when you add it to Community Park, it's a lot of acres.
And I think and then the disc golf course area was, if I remember correctly, acquired through Texas Park and Wildlife
A grant,
funds.
yeah.
And with that, it cannot be used, it can't be changed for it to anything. It needs to be used for, I think, a disc course. So even though all that green space exists, I think, if I remember
I was just
correctly.
thinking 4 acres probably could make a nice BMX deal or skate deal
Totally agree
or
with you.
something like that, and wouldn't have to buy any land.
Right.
I totally
Well, I think
agree.
we got plenty of land. It's like I said, it's
Plenty of land for a skate.
cutting back and doing some other things, because we could probably pour a slab for $200,000, couldn't we, Scott?
It'd probably be a little bit more than that because you want to design it to be a slab.
250, 300, but it's less than $2.5 million. Yeah, less than $2.5 million is what I'm getting at.
Scott, one other thing, out of the 2000 bond, I heard earlier, I think Ed talked about, it was really for, what's there is really for drainage?
What's left of the amount?
What's left?
Yes. So
Do
you
we know how
have-
much it is?
You approximately have, what was it, about 30 million that's left from 2003 election And of that, most of that is tied either to transportation or drainage projects. You've already, in the CIP, as you go through the CIP, it's kind of divvied up.
You've got $1.8 million for
Parks, that's
Yeah.
right.
In there,
That's left.
that's left. But the total of is what you're saying.
Yes.
And it can only be used for what is being
Exactly.
voted for and funded for.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's not quite correct.
Yes. There's no, yes.
It can only be used for park projects,
Right.
but it doesn't have to necessarily say for a gym.
Yeah.
But it has to be a park project.
Drainage has to be used for drainage, parks has to be used for parks. Yeah, but not a specific project, yeah. Purposes.
I just want you to have the
Yeah,
right
I'm just talking
information.
about, I like to play tennis, that's all.
Transportation.
The committee talked about, got a presentation for transportation. We agreed with all of the projects that were discussed, and Scott will tell you what they were.
We split in transportation into several different categories. One would be what we call added capacity projects. This is new or improved, and by improve I mean widen, roadways. The city has about $7.5 million in projects that are leverage with the recently passed Fort Bend County mobility package that we would end up having to spend funds on. And that would be Independence Boulevard, Staffordshire, and Knight Road. So that would be the added capacity projects listed. Then we're looking at about $3 million that would be maintenance type work. This would be large segment replacements, sidewalk type replacements, complete replacements of some sections of street.
And that ain't much, is it?
Crack sealing and stuff.
That ain't much.
My question, will you make a dent in the problem?
We could take up significantly more funds to do that, on that. On our PMMP, for example, on removal and replacement of sidewalks alone, is about $3 million is necessary on that,
Not the citywide, right?
citywide, on existing sidewalks, on that. And then we have additional funds in transportation as well. And then we also included about $2.5 million for beautification. This would go to roadway improvements such as landscaping on medians in the roadway, replacement of monument signs. We have some of our monument signs like the FM 1092 Highway 6 sign that's rather dated in both the logo and the look of that sign. And we have another one on Independence Boulevard and another one Turtle Creek area out there. And primarily, we'd be looking at landscaping improvements on Texas Parkway and the Highway 6 area out there. And those should total up to about $13 million.
Whew. All right. I would assume, Ed, that when we, and it may be part of your, I may be getting ahead of it, on the timeline, could we, with each of these projects, talk about when we think we could implement those, like the entrance signs? That's not something that you would have to put off for 5 years. That's something that could be done fairly quickly. So could we, when you do your list,
When we
give
do
us
the
an
work
estimate of when
sessions-
you're thinking about doing those particular things?
Well, probably more apt is when we do the work sessions, we'll kind of show you over the next 10 years, what do we see as the amount that you can maybe spend each year
Yeah.
without affecting the tax rate? Because that's going to be the big thing. You know, y'all, when you do the CIP, are going to decide for signs, for example. We'd like to see signs done in maybe, year 3 versus year 7. And maybe some of these others. So y'all can help kind of make those adjustments or decide that. But we'll show you what are the dollar amounts that we kind of project that you could be spending each year. You'll have more flexibility in later years than in the near future years. So we'll break that apart and kind of show y'all what that debt issuance amount for each fiscal year could be. And then when time comes, that's one of the things, like I said, y'all either, how much you want to do it during your discussions about the different projects and kind of what to put them in when you put together the bond package. That's going to be something we can try to see. Or you may say, you know what,
let's kind of hold off on it a little bit and just say these are the bond projects, but this is how much we know we're going to be kind of issuing each year and work that through the CIP. But that'll be part of discussions over the next 2 months.
One of the things, Wes got up and mentioned that we got 1.2 million, 8 million in parks, funds for parks from a bond referendum that was back in 2000s. Just for the sake of the audience, why haven't we used that?
Because it's been about how much do you want to increase your tax rate. Okay. It's one to where with each of those issuances, depending on how much debt's falling off, you can be able to kind of keep that ratio balanced to where you're not adding, you may be adding new debt, but you're having enough fall off so you don't have to increase your tax rate. But if you get too far ahead of yourself, you're going to be in the position of having to then increase your, especially at least on the INS side of your tax rate, increase that amount to match the amount of debt that you have that is new and above what you can carry without increasing your rate.
It's approved, but it hasn't been issued.
And also the decision-making process, with this new bond referendum, we still going to have the same type of exercise.
Yes.
True.
Exactly. Yeah, just because we approved it doesn't mean we've issued it.
Correct.
It's still available to be issued, but it's like Ed said, when you start issuing debt, it's going to have an effect on the tax rate. And until we can start changing the makeup of our revenue stream from residential to some of the other sources that we're beginning to see now with all the industry coming in, and see our property values go back up again, which we knew would happen overnight going down, but it's going to take 3 to 5 years for us to reap the benefits, hopefully, of it going back up, and then we'll start being able to do some of this stuff without raising taxes, which we...
Plus, any specific projects will be in the budget.
Yeah.
Correct.
We would know when we're spending the money.
Exactly.
When you develop your CIP, that's one of the things you're looking at over the next 5 years is how can you project that out to where, again, what is it that you're going to have as far as your tax burden? But then when you do that, each of those annual fiscal year budgets, you're also then stating these are the projects we're going to move forward with, and this is the implication or the tax rate.
So Ed, when we say that this $40 million bond package, it doesn't raise taxes. It will. It gets approved. And when we issue the debt.
It doesn't increase your tax rate over the 10-year period. So you have to, so you're talking about, what is it now, 2014?
Yeah.
So 2024 is kind of the long horizon you have here for the issuance of the debt for these projects.
Right.
So it'll go up in 10 years.
No, it'll still be, at least your INS, based upon this, will still be the same.
Yeah. That's a challenge for us.
Yes.
Is to issue that debt only as long as it doesn't increase taxes, if we can prevent it from doing so. That's why you spread it out over 10 years instead of issuing it all at once.
Unless the values go up and...
Well, that's right, that's what I'm saying, and
no
hopefully we
money
can
to-
start seeing some increases that allow us to do that.
Gentlemen, the committee wishes you well. You have some difficult decisions to make.
Thank you.
Eunice, thank you for the work that you all did. I know it was a lot of time you all spent away from your own homes and some tough decisions you had to make. But again, I think the citizens of Missouri City, thank you all for your service once again. All right. The fiscal year 2013 comprehensive,
We have the ability to, we got the audio fixed for the Chinese delegation presentation.
Are we
if you'd like to
sure?
hear that one. No, but we believe we do.
Well, let's try it. Make it work.
You're going to go to the online version.
Just go back to the
Okay.
Man, I think we'll just go ahead and make a quick a verbal report. As much as I'm eager to
I know.
to see the
I
video
thought
and
we
the
were
pictures and
ready.
emotions. I mean,
They still have to bring it up
A lot of people
online,
is
but
waiting.
yes. Please.
I thought we were ready.
Yeah.
They're going online to pull it up, but if y'all want to do any kind of...
Okay. As you know, economic development is one of the city top priorities to track business to our city to get the revenues. And our objective is to see all the vacant lands in the city turn into building and shopping centers and manufacturing companies. But the question is how long will it take for these companies to come and what kind of companies will be coming. So with that, we are very proactive about that. We work with the Greater Houston Partnership, Fort Bend Economic Development Committee, and we even work with the county judge, Hebert, to go to different countries to attract, to show our land availabilities, to show them how great we are so that they can come and build businesses over here. And in addition to that, every year we also try to attract inbound delegations, people who have a desire and a willingness to come to America to build business. And in the past few weeks, we had an opportunity to receive a delegation from Tsingtao. As you know, Tsingtao beer is one of the famous cities in China, and we had a great meeting with them to show them our city. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Mayor?
There, you say you're ready or not?
Good.
Ready.
Go it.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
As economic development continues to thrive citywide, interest from the international community is also
Can we
growing.
get the sound higher?
The city's successes are expanding beyond the Houston area and across the world, as dignitaries from foreign countries are visiting the Show Me City to get an insider's look into municipal operations. Recently, Missouri City hosted delegations from the Shandong province of China, showing high-level officials how technology is used to provide exemplary service to constituents. The 15 dignitaries are members of the Shandong Provincial Government of the People's Republic of China and traveled more than 7,000 miles to learn how high-tech applications are applied to everything from traffic management, to 911 operations, to information technology, to public safety, and to the management of key amenities such as the award-winning Quail Valley Golf Course and the Premier City Center. The dignitaries who visited have wide powers over their province's computer and IT systems and make final implementation decisions of all structures, from business to industrial to private sector usage. City staff from the police, fire, public works, dispatch, and technology and innovation departments provided presentations to the dignitaries, showcasing innovative technologies that have helped Missouri City improve operations. Mayor Alan Owen and at-large position number 2 council member Danny Wynn were pivotal in arranging the delegation's visit and were on hand to welcome the leaders and accompany them on tours of some facilities. The day was both educational and entertaining as the delegates took breaks throughout their tour to meet with public safety officers and sit behind the wheels of both fire and police vehicles, see police equipment in action, and pose in fun photos with staff. The delegation was very impressed with the seamless way Missouri City has adapted to its fast residential and commercial growth. They ended their visit with lunch in the city center's Magnolia Ballroom and a video presentation in their native language that featured multiple city achievements in finance, public safety, infrastructure improvements, and citizen collaborations. The day before their visit with staff members and elected officials, delegates visited booming Lakeview Business Park and took a tour of Niagara Bottling LLC, the largest family-owned private label manufacturer of bottled water in the United States. Niagara executives treated the dignitaries to a tour of the company's newly constructed 357,000 square foot facility, showing them firsthand how technology has been integrated into operations. As the area continues to develop and flourish, Missouri City will continue to shine and looks forward to hosting more delegations and sharing the prosperous story of the Show Me City.
As a matter of fact, I want to add there was one more person who spent the whole day with us, Councilman Jerry Wyatt. I didn't see his picture, so his name was mentioned. So
yeah,
it's one too.
I'm gonna come again.
You come back later.
Very good. All right, so we have the presentation of the fiscal year 2013 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report.
Yes, Mayor and Council, Chris Bro with Whitley Penn is here to
Right, we
go
can't
over the
keep up with
CAFR.
the names, can
Yes,
we?
they're
Yeah.
like,
Formerly known as Noel Larison.
Right.
Yeah.
so here's Chris.
Well, it's our first name change since 1997. But Mayor, members of council, thank you for having us out tonight. We're here to present the results of the financial statement audit and the comprehensive annual financial report. I have a clicker here, so hopefully this will work, and it does quite nicely. We have issued an unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements of the City of Missouri City as of and for the year ended June 30th, 2013. This is the highest level of assurance we can give on financial statements, and our audit was conducted in accordance with governmental auditing standards. I've prepared for you a presentation. I think you see it there, and you'll see it on your screens here, that just hits some highlights of the report. It's a 168-page document. And while I would love to go through each and every page, you've had an opportunity to take a look at this. And so we'll summarize here. Your overall look at the city, your net position, your statement of net position, which is sort of like the balance sheet of the City of Missouri City, is divided into two sections, the governmental activities and the business type activities. This features everything you own versus everything you owe. So it has not only your cash and your current assets and current liabilities, it also has your capital assets, your buildings, your equipment, your roads, along with the debt that you have to pay in the long-term debt. At the year end, the governmental activities ended up with $133 million worth of net position, $239 million of total assets, $106 million of total liability. Your business type activities had $94 million of assets and $55 million of liabilities, ending up with $38 million in total net position for the business type activities, leaving you with $171 million in net assets or net position for the government as a whole, compared to $171 million last year. So you stayed about the same as far as your net position is concerned. Sure, I'm not flipping here. On the next, we move to cash and investments at year end, and you had a total of $50 million in investments at year end, and that included Ginnie Mae, Fannie Mae notes, Federal Home Loan Bank agency notes, some investments in TextPool and Logic, which are your liquid funds. You had weighted average maturity of about 194 days in your portfolio at year end. And additionally, you had $3 million in cash in ready funds to meet the needs of the city. On the other side of the ledger, long-term debt outstanding, you had $150 million in debt outstanding. $62 million was in general obligation bonds, $5 million in increment contract revenue bonds, those are paid out of the TERS. Tax notes and leases of $1.4 million, and certificates of obligation of $81 million. The bulk of that is going to be repaid from general revenues, $92 million. $5.1 million is going to be used from property taxes from TERS 1, and $52 million is going to be used for user fees out of the water and sewer and the surface water plants. Your ratio of general obligation debt to assessed value is 2.17%.
What is the, Chris, you know what the average, state average is for that? That's
I do not know what
important
the state average is. As I was coming up here, I thought maybe that would be a good number to know. But as a rule of thumb, when you're looking at 3% and higher in the city, that starts getting high. So 2.1, you're right in the ballpark of where you need to be.
I think it's important for citizens to know that.
Yes, sir.
The important part is that we've added some new services that we didn't have in the past, and the ratio is still.
I mean, still the same. Yeah.
Yes, sir. From the revenue side, speaking of revenues, and what makes up your revenues, 50% of your governmental fund revenues comes from property taxes. And that's the hard fact. That's where you're getting your money from. Sales tax makes up another 14%. License and permits make up 4%. Fines and forfeiture 2%. Franchise fees 6%. Intergovernmental makes up 19%. Some of that intergovernmental is going to be your metro tax monies coming through. It's just recorded as intergovernmental versus sales tax because it goes through another government before it hits you. Other revenues of 3% and charges services for 2%. So that kind of gives you the ratio of how the money comes in. And how the money goes out from the government operating expenditures, and I've excluded debt service and major capital outlay items here, so you can get a feel for the operational numbers. 35% of every dollar spent on police. 22% is spent on fire. So that is, if I do my math correctly, 57% of every dollar spent on public safety. That doesn't include the municipal court, which is included in the general government category. So that's included in there. Public works is 12%. That's not building things, that's just maintaining things. Park at 8%, planning at 6%. General government, like I said, 12%, includes municipal court in there, and finances at 5%. Let's look at our general fund and our debt service fund budgets for the year. In the general fund, you had revenues of $31 million, $31.2 million, expenditures of $31.9 million. You had transfers in of $746,000. So your fund balance stayed about the same, $8.4 million, which represents 26% of your annual expenditures. On the debt service fund, you brought in $7.3 million, you spent $8.6 million, had transfers of $326,000, and you pulled that debt service fund balance from $6.7 million to $5.7 million. You drew that down as you intended to in the budget process. Now, in the debt service fund, you have a fund balance of 67% of annual expenditures. Some of that is, normally you'd see a number somewhere just north of 25%, a quarter of what you have, or maybe 50%. Because of the timing of your bonds, they're going to come in right after year end before property taxes come in, and that's how you pay for your bonds.
So again, Chris, taxes. When you look at state averages and such, the average for most cities, their fund balance as a percentage of their annual expenditures would be what?
Well, you're at 26%. Right in that, you're right in that ballpark. I think your goal is to make 15 to 25. 15 to 25, right? So 15 to 25. So you're just a hair above where your target. So you're right there. Your debt service is a very strong debt service fund balance. Yeah. From an internal control and compliance standpoint, we have no material weaknesses or material compliance findings to report. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
What I like to do, Chris, is to go back to your slide number 1. This is a report of an independent audit, am I correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And we explained the unmodified, a clean opinion.
Yes, sir. Unmodified or clean opinion is that we have not modified our opinion in any way. We are expressing that, in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects.
And it's the highest level of assurance given on this financial statement. Is that what the audit revealed?
Those are the standards, yes, sir. This is the highest level of assurance I can give on financial statements.
And it was conducted in accordance with the government audit standards. Am I correct?
You are correct, sir.
Because I've read blogs. I don't read many of them.
Okay.
Decrying the management of the city and how the funds are mismanaged, bad decisions in the face of conflicting evidence. So I just want to bring this out.
I have no mismanagement of funds to report to you.
And our debt services ratio is pretty strong.
Very strong,
correct?
Yes, sir.
And we just also heard that we're one of the 5th largest, safest cities in the state of Texas to live, and one of the safest cities and the best cities to live in the United States. You don't have to
He didn't- he-
testify
I
to
did not audit
that,
that,
but
so I
it's
didn't
audit
been
that.
well documented.
I won't disagree with you.
I don't normally go on this type of diatribe, but I wanted to, this is a good time for me to say that we doing pretty good up here.
Yeah.
And I hope the citizens of Missouri City just take note of that. I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but I've read some mess out there, so I just want to say
And
that.
I assume
Thank
these
you.
73 pages of documents are on our website for any citizen to go and look at.
168 pages, sir.
And Mayor, if I may just
Bill, yeah.
take the
Yeah.
privilege of doing something, of being able to say, one of the things that Chris noted was that we had no material weaknesses or material compliance findings to report. In my 2 decades as city manager, I've often, in fact, I asked Michael Higgins, our Assistant Director of Finance, I said, where's our management letter before coming in? There's typically, the auditor will find 5 or 6 things, even for the best of cities, to say, here are things that you need to work on. Here are issues that you're going to have in cash handling or something just that they saw that just, it's one to where it doesn't change this as far as a clean opinion, but it's just things to where, you know, hey, you could do better on this. And I asked Michael, I said, why haven't you given me that yet? And Michael's response, and I think this speaks so highly of our finance department, is there wasn't one issue this year. I'm not saying that we're perfect, but our finance department went above and beyond in correcting anything that had been found before, and had been making sure that as far as financial handling of our resources that come through, it's done in the highest and best use. And so with that, I say thank you to Mr. Vela and to our finance department.
Good.
And it's just, that really is an exemplary statement to their work.
Were the Leisure Corporation numbers included in this audit?
Yes, sir.
I just want to ask that question again, same reason Don just asked. So you found nothing wrong with any of the Leisure Corporation financial statements or mismanagement either?
That is correct, sir. We have
Very
issued
good.
an unmodified or clean
Thank you.
opinion.
Chris, I have a question.
Yes.
Out of the 14% of the sales tax, how much was that? What was that amount? Maybe Wes, that we have this year that we collected versus last year? Because it shows that there was 14% is sales tax. So I just want to know how much was that brought in?
We increased,
Did it go up?
yes,
By what percent? 2, 5?
8%.
Oh, it did. And last year was? So you're saying last year could have been, this year is 14%, right?
No, he's reporting on last year.
Oh, you're reporting on last year?
I'm reporting on the
So the
fiscal
one that-
year ended June 30th, 2013.
So there is an increase from the year before that? That's what I'm saying, 6%?
From 12,
2012.
18%.
18% increase from the year before, 2012 to 2013? Good. All right, thank you.
Not bad. But those new business, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, sir.
All right, item 6 is a consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed?
Move to approve.
Second.
Well, who was, Councilman Wynn? Mayor Pro Tem Wyatt made the second. All those in favor? Motion carries.
May I make a motion to suspend the rule to move to item 7-2A?
Yes, sir,
Because I
you
see a lot
can.
of people in the audience waiting for that item.
You surely may.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to suspend the rules and go to item 7A2. All those in favor? Motion carries. Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance of the City of Missouri City, Texas, granting a specific use permit authorizing the use of a 3.056 acre tract of land in the City of Missouri City as a specific use places of assembly, providing limitations, restrictions, and conditions on such specific use, referencing elevation drawings, providing for certain construction according to said drawings, amending the zoning district map of the City of Missouri City as adopted by ordinance number 0811, adopted on January 19, 1981 as amended, providing for an amendment to the comprehensive plan, providing for repeal, providing a penalty, providing for severability, and containing other provisions relating to the subject.
And this is the first of 2 readings.
This is a request by St. Mary's Church for a specific use permit. The location is shown, it's outlined in black there, just west of the intersection of Knight Road and Watts Plantation Road. It would be south of where the toll road is currently being extended. This is the proposed site plan that the church has submitted. It's a preliminary site plan. And so the screenshot, the larger portion is the full site, and then there's a close-up of where the actual buildings would sit closer to Watts Plantation. The proposal does include a 5,000 square foot worship facility for the church, and with future plans for another 5,000 square foot building, but there's no specific time frame as to when that building may or may not be constructed. Staff's, let me see, this is what the building is proposed to look like, the 5,000 square foot building as referenced. Staff's recommendation, and P&Z forwarded a positive recommendation for the use. That would include the use requirements for the LC2 district, so that includes height limitations, architectural standards, provisions for screening and buffering, as the site is currently zoned for single-family use and the adjacent properties continue to be zoned for single-family use. The ordinance and P&Z recommendation also include a requirement to require cross-access, which is typically required for non-residential uses, but having a provision that even though the adjacent uses are currently single-family, anticipating if those properties are ever rezoned to a non-residential use, that this use would be required to tie in. On utilities, that's probably the biggest issue. As the council knows, there is a water line that runs down Watts Plantation presently. However, on the sewer side, the closest sanitary system is the lift station that is just to the south of Kroger, which is on the opposite side of the toll road extension. As a result of looking at cost and looking at costs related to extending that public system, and this is in the city service area, the church proposes to use a private septic system, an on-site septic system. Staff had recommended to disapprove. And I'm sorry to keep holding it. I feel like it's going to fall.
Yeah.
Staff had recommended to disapprove. Planning and Zoning Commission, however, recommended to allow it, provided that there were some conditions placed. Since Planning and Zoning Commission's meeting, staff has met with representatives from the church and proposed to allow for the guaranteed use of a private septic system for 7 years. And upon the expiration of that 7-year period, the church or the property owner would have to come back through to seek an amendment to the SUP ordinance to request further use of that system after 7 years.
Can Scott come up and address because I'm sure we're talking a commercial septic system.
Yes, the church would be required to follow all TCEQ requirements on a private septic system. It would be a commercial quality system. They would have to make sure the spray fields all meet all the state requirements and everything else. This is not a situation that hasn't happened in the city in the past. For example, the country store at Vicksburg and Highway 6 was temporarily on a septic system until they had utilities available. The church and the city staff has worked together, and not to speak for the church, but they have indicated they are agreeable to the 7 years, and at the 7 years, if there's something within a reasonable distance, then they'd be happy to tie in, and if not, they would have that ability to come to council for a renewal of that permit at that time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Did we talk about reasonable distance? That's my reason and Floyd's reason. So what is a reasonable distance?
Yes, and we've looked at, and while we didn't write it in the ordinance because we don't want to bind the hands of a future council, staff and the church have looked at the ability to about 150 feet from one of their property lines because that would be consistent with some of the other areas in the city and running a private line in a public right-of-way or to a public system on that.
Yeah. So would it serve the same effect as to rather say reasonable distance as determined by the city? We can still have the 7 years.
Yes.
My understanding also that they agreed that once they were able to connect into the city service, that they would do a removal
They would be required at that
of the
time to do a
septic system?
removal of their system. And remember, we're only talking about septic. They would be on the public water line that is on.
Right. But if for some reason, that property would happen to go,
Sure, but
back.
under this
then we
scenario,
wouldn't want those.
they would have 7 years. That way they can depreciate the cost of their septic system over that time period that they would install. And then at that time, if something's available, then they would be amenable to tying in. And they would always have the option to come to council if to reapply for that SUP at that time
How
as
do we
well.
come up with 7 years?
We took a look at development trends in the area, and that would probably be the first time that something would be reasonably available. And honestly, I don't see anything, in my opinion, that would come in prior to that time frame. That also gives them time to recoup some of their expense of the private system.
It's today, how far is that? How much feet is the one today, though, for Kroger?
Distance-wise, it's probably about 1,200, 1,500 feet, but the big issue is they have to cross under the toll road, and a private line crossing under the toll road may cause a lot of heartburn on the toll road authority. And in the future, hopefully, stuff will be on the south side or adjacent to their property.
Yeah, because as soon as they're through with the extension of the toll road, I would assume that property is going to start developing. It ain't going to sit there long.
Right.
I mean, the toll road's going to bring that to fruition where people are going to want to start selling that property off to.
Is there also a plan to widen that Watts Plantation?
Watts Plantation is on the city's thoroughfare plan for widening in the future. So yes, ultimately there would be. And in the past, at the time of platting of adjacent properties, dedication of right-of-way has occurred for that widening.
I mean, we're not talking in the near future.
There's nothing in the 5-year CIP for widening of Watts Plantation.
Are all those houses in the estates of Silver Ridge on sewer system?
Yes, they're on a public water system in the subdivision that's got the oxbow in the middle of it, but the others are all on water well and septic.
Okay. So that's why they can't go to them to get sewer line,
That is
because that's the
correct.
closest one.
Everything south is
Yeah.
on septic system.
And I know that we indicated that they're agreeing to all of the stipulations that we're placing.
The church, I believe might be 1 or 2 members of the church here.
Might be.
But I'm sure the pastor could come up and express that himself if he wishes on that, or his building committee, or their spokesman.
Well, they came here, we need to give them an audience.
That's the tough
I want to meet the pastor anyway, he writes such a good email.
Good evening, Councilman.
We went to their, Councilman Ellencat and Floyd and I went to their celebration, so.
Floyd
yeah.
actually had a good time. He stayed past us.
I stayed longer than Robin did.
Father, you should have run him off. He gets wild after he gets there a while. He gets to dancing.
Good evening. My name is KJ Joseph. I'm a board member of the church, and this is
I'm Reverend Joshua
George.
I'm the minister of St. Mary's Church, and we have a few members here representing our church for the passion for having a church in Missouri City. So, and this is our...
That's our contractor. It's our contractor, Harris.
Good evening, Councilman. They have agreed to all the stipulations that were provided on our first meeting, so that is agreeable by the church.
Very good.
But Mayor and Council, I also want to make a point note out which Father Joshua missed, that the bishop is actually here for
Yeah, he
the
is.
congregation.
Yeah.
And he's a resident of Silver Lake.
Yeah.
His bishop house is right in Missouri City.
Yeah, I just want to add something else. I mean, the bishop, he had an option to stay anywhere here in Greater Houston, but he chose Missouri City.
He's got a nice house.
Okay, so he chose Missouri City.
Yeah.
So,
But you chose the right place.
yes,
didn't you?
he chose
Yeah,
Missouri
you chose
City.
the right place.
And he chose it for a reason.
And as I recall, a large majority of your parishioners are from Missouri City.
Yes,
That is correct. That is correct.
They are.
We belong to the St. Mary's Indian Orthodox Church. We have 4 churches here in Greater Houston, and Bishop Eusebius is the leader of our Southwest Diocese here. And
Very
we have
good.
about just under 1,000 individuals in our church that
Very
lives
good.
in our diocese that lives in Missouri City.
Councilman Ellicott, that's your motion?
I think that's Floyd's motion. My motion.
Oh, your motion.
I second that.
Okay.
And then we're going to have to amend the 7 years to include as determined by the city, instead of,
And Mayor and Council, there is no language in the ordinance about a reasonable time to tie in. The ordinance simply states that they must tie in, that the applicant must tie in within the 7 years, and if they fail to do so, they must come back to council for an amendment.
All right, with
So
that-
for that very reason that you were concerned, Councilmember Wyatt, when that was discussed at the staff level with the applicant, we did want to make it clear for all parties involved.
Very good. Do we have a motion and a second? All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
That's it?
Go forward.
Thank you.
nobody come back hogging 7 years from now.
That's it, man. And thank you all for coming.
Yes.
Bishop.
Thank you.
Got the whole team here, my God.
Well, that cleared out the crowd.
You made the right decision, Floyd.
When I wrote him, I told him, I said, having a few people here might,
Everybody
be a
here?
good
All
sign.
right,
But
6B.
not the whole sign.
I told him, don't worry about me, I don't vote against churches anyway.
6B.
Definitely something pretty bad.
No, 7.
It's 7A1.
7A1.
I'm sorry.
Now, this is a real
I already got through that, don't I? Yeah, 7A1.
An ordinance of the City of Missouri City, Texas, changing the zoning classification of a 22.184 acre tract of land from LC2 Local Retail District in part and LC3 Retail District in part to R2 Single Family Residential District, amending the zoning district map of the City of Missouri City as adopted by ordinance number 0811 on January 19, 1981, is amended, providing for an amendment to the comprehensive plan, providing for appeal, providing a penalty, providing for severability, and containing other provisions relating to the subject.
This also is the first reading of this ordinance.
Yes, sir, that's correct. The applicants are here tonight to request a zoning change from LC3 Retail District and LC2 Retail District, Local Retail District, to R1 Single Family Retail District. And if that is the wish of the commission, then we would also recommend to update the future land use future land use map to reflect suburban residential instead of suburban commercial, which it shows today. Currently, the owners are looking at a 22.184 acre tract of land, which you see here. Looking at the legal notice map that was created, sorry about that. There we go. Looking at the legal notice map that was created, you'll see that they are leaving a large section of land along Highway 6 and a small section along Oilfield Road as LC3 Retail Commercial, so that we will still have some retail tax base going through there. The owners are here tonight if there are any specific questions that the council may have of them. But really, this is just a straight rezoning request from commercial essentially to residential.
Mayor and council, I just have a comment. I don't think I've ever gotten so much positive emails from the residents on both sides of Oilfield Road. And the signs were out there, so they kept asking. They all got the letters. Actually, the community is very positive about this. They're excited to see in this particular residential units coming back in with the commercial up in the front.
That's good.
As you can see, it's pretty much surrounded on three sides by residential.
Yeah.
So really, it does fit well with the surrounding land uses, while still giving us the commercial retail land that we would like along the front.
May I make a motion to move forward?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Ellicott, second by Councilman Wynn. Is there any other questions?
Well, I wonder, did Robin put up those palm trees down the middle of Oilfield Road?
What?
Those palm trees, is that you're doing?
No, I didn't put up that. I didn't put up that. Only thing that I had, that comment that came was Colony Lakes HOA had spent last year money. I don't know if you're driven through Oilfield Road. They put up replaced the wood fence to the brick. And they just approved in their budget to start doing that in January on the other side, all the way to Shell gas station, on that side. So the only requirement, I think I did talk to the applicant, was along that oil field road, I think in their original plan that they had it as a wood fence. So I did make a suggestion to see that the community would like to see just that. It doesn't have to be the same color, but at least along those, all the way to that, because the Colony Lakes HOA on the other side, and Angie and all of them were waiting for that, and that's a long stretch, and so they're completely replacing that. And actually, as a matter of fact, I went to the HOA meeting early this last month, and they did have the final approval to construction to start in January.
And eliminate some of the concerns.
We will definitely pass all that along to the applicants and
the noise.
try to work with them on
That was that issue that, Floyd, you had when you were on that side.
Well, it does, but because we still got the dump trucks going up and down there early in the morning, all day long, so. Any other question? Not, we'll vote. All those in favor. Motion carries. 7A3.
An ordinance of the City of Missouri City, Texas, amending regulations in PD Plan Development District Number 55 consisting of a 25.776 acre tract of land describing said 25.77 acre tract of land, regulating and restricting the development use of property within such PD Plan Development District, amending the zoning district map of the City of Missouri City as adopted by ordinance number 0811, adopted on January 19, 1981 as amended, providing for an amendment to the comprehensive plan, providing for appeal, providing a penalty, providing for severability, and containing other provisions relating to the subject.
And this also is the first reading.
This is a first reading. Pretty straightforward ordinance, Chance Crossing, developed along Pike Road and Stafford Road, right there at the city limits. The homes that you see there are in the city of Stafford. The city limits kinds of wraps around this development and the detention area. This didn't catch, but if you look on Pike Road, this is where the new development that they're proposing would go. Tamlin and Sons is the building closest to the bottom of the screen at Pike Road. And so they would continue the Chance Crossing office warehouse development along Pike Road. When the ordinance was passed in 2006, it prohibited outside storage. And so one of the potential users that they have for a office warehouse building has a desire to use a small space for outside storage. Staff recommended, and P&Z for its positive recommendation, to allow for outside storage within this development, subject to outside storage requirements for all other industrial users. And so what that means is that they would have area outside to store materials, merchandise, equipment. It would just need to be screened from public view by masonry walls or landscaping as in whatever manner it's visible by the public. And the other consideration, the applicant proposes to use polycarbonate multi-wall sheets. It's not set in stone. It's a new kind of material, a plastic kind of material that they propose to use. It would have the look of a window with the frame around the window, but with the size of the warehouses that they're proposing to build, it would allow for energy savings, reduce the energy cost for the warehouses, but also allow natural light to flow through, so they wouldn't have to use as much electricity to light the building. And so this is examples of what they could look like. They come in different colors, opal, some can look metallic. They propose to use clear, and staff and P&Z forwarded a positive recommendation for the use of clear panels. It would be
stronger than glass.
They're stronger than glass. They're plastic, so they would break like glass, but they are a stronger product. And so staff did, and P&Z forwarded a positive recommendation for the use. The recommendation does not include a limitation on the size. What they've proposed to use it so far is for their interior where the buildings are adjacent to each other, so it may not be all that visible from the public roadway. But there is no limitation on the size of those panels in the draft ordinance that you have before you.
Well, Jennifer, I have a question.
Yes.
During that P&Z meeting, Councilmember Emery and I was here. There was one person that was talking about the a view from the opposite side.
on the other side of the ditch.
Did they ever address that, or was that the reason why they chose to go with the clear? I don't remember now.
And I remember the conversation in terms of outside storage being visible across the ditch from the residents in Stafford, and whether or not any consideration wanted to be placed on screening from view from that angle. Presently, they're not required. The recommendation that moved forward was not a requirement for screening.
Okay.
We were going to work with the applicant on providing fencing along there. But if there is a desire to provide that screening, then we would have to stipulate it within the ordinance.
But that's a pretty good distance. Also.
It's a pretty sizable distance.
We're not talking abutting, we're
No.
talking.
And what are we talking about storing?
Yeah, what specifically are they?
material?
We don't have that yet because we don't have who the user is.
Is the applicant here?
And I don't see the applicant.
You know, we need to remind applicants that when items come on the agenda, they need to be here. Otherwise, sometimes they get postponed. And I will
do
not
that.
vote on this item until he's here to answer questions.
I will do that.
And our screening requirements, would that be landscaping?
It, depending on how
Yeah,
it's
that's embarrassing
visible.
to not
And
come before us.
it is required if it's visible from the roadways in this case, from Pike Road or Stafford Road, it would be required to be screened by masonry walls. That could be done with a wing wall. It could be done with the positioning of the buildings. But it would be required to be screened from view of from that angle by masonry. Otherwise, it's required to be screened by landscaping.
But we need to keep in mind, this property is almost surrounded by Stafford.
That's correct.
It is.
And other than the east side. So,
And Jerry, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem when people have items on the agenda and they don't show the courtesy of this council of coming to answer questions. My recommendation is that we postpone this item until the next meeting.
Okay.
Otherwise, I intend to vote against it.
I don't know, I think if they don't show up by second meeting, we just vote the
No,
item down.
I'm not going to
But
vote for
let's
it.
get this work done.
There are questions I want to ask, and I think it's fair that they be here.
Well, you
They
can
came
ask
to
it on
P&Z.
second reading.
No, I think I'll vote against it. You can vote where you want to.
Well, the other side of it, in terms of outside storage,
Yes.
in comparison to Pike, that's on the other side of Gessner, you know, this sounds like it could be an improvement compared to auto sales and other stuff, and
Yeah, and and what we've seen so far, it's a continuation of what they've started
doing
out
now,
there. And it's a pretty nice development that they have with the existing buildings.
So even though it's surrounded by, by Stafford, we're still taking, precaution to make sure that, that we protect, the view from Stafford. We need to be good neighbors, and, we don't need to just throw something up and say, well, that's Stafford's problem, they have to look at it. So I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that we're good neighbors and,
Wouldn't you like to know what it is, though?
Well, of course.
What if they're cranes?
What if they're cranes?
Yeah, what if they're cranes? My concern is what is being stored there. That has to do with the screening.
Right.
If it's below that screening, I don't have a problem with it. But if they're storing equipment and cranes and stuff, then I do have a concern about those residents having to look at that.
The only comment that I have is I remember they talk about this window structure was to be pretty high, and not, because I think
Right.
someone had asked, is it breakable or somebody gonna break? And I totally forgot what they said they were gonna store in there.
Well, I agree with Mayor,
They're supposed to be like a second floor high.
Outside storage
Yeah,
that
I
I'm
don't know what
concerned
that is.
about.
Yeah, and I can just say, based on what they've presented so far, and I'm sorry I don't have the site plan, I can put it on the Elmo. The site plan that was included in your packets with the future construction includes some small areas that they've designated for the potential tenant that they have in mind. They're pretty small, so I doubt that it would be large equipment that they would store there, but we don't have the details on exactly the type of
move that we
material.
adopt the ordinance on first reading. And we can talk to these people at second reading.
Was there a reason why they weren't here?
I would have to get with them tomorrow. I'm not sure.
We're aware of that there was a meeting tonight.
Yeah, they're aware of the meeting.
We're aware of it?
Yeah, it could be
don't even have the
being after
developer
the
here.
holiday, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Made a motion.
There is no second.
Why the owner was not here? Was he expected to be here? Of course.
That's a good question. I made the motion to postpone the item.
Our ordinance, the mayor can't make a motion to postpone.
I second
it.
it.
Somebody else can. The other side of it, there's
I'll
no,
make the motion.
Make
to
the
post-
motion.
to postpone
there's
the
no
item.
written
Second.
requirement that we require anybody in here for us to take action. I think,
Not, Jerry, but it's plain common courtesy to come up here in case we have questions. Did they just
The
assume
motion,
we were going to approve it?
Yolanda, what's
I
your
made
motion?
the motion to postpone the item to the
you
next.
moved.
And then you second.
No.
And Jennifer,
We
can you
can-
make
I made
sure
a
that
second.
we know what's being stored out there? Because
We'll be talking to them tomorrow.
I feel the same. What if it is cranes and whatever?
It's not
else?
enough
So-
property to put cranes on it,
so.
unless they're birds.
But the only difference is, though, Councilmember Emery and I was there, but we were talking about another issue. I did hear bits and pieces. If not, I would not have a clue, except for what you're saying and what I'm looking at.
The owner
Maybe
should be
between now and
here.
then we can find out what those questions were.
Yes, I second that.
Yeah, it's been a motion and a second. All those in favor of postponing the item? All opposed? Motion carries.
How did Councilman vote? To postpone?
Which way did you vote? He voted to postpone.
Postpone.
During the conversation, I know it's over with, during your conversation with this applicant or any applicant, do you mention, Jennifer, sometimes that it's important for them to be here during these readings?
Most always we do.
Do you tell them that council may not act on their ordinance if they're not here?
Well, after tonight.
You will now.
But my point of it is
Yes.
that she will now, but did she tell this applicant that if he didn't come,
Not in those terms,
my
no.
point? We could have taken care of this on second reading.
It was not important to him, that's why it's important to us.
Then if he didn't show up on second reading, we vote it down.
I bet he's here for the bet here for,
I'm pretty sure they'll be
yeah,
here.
he'll be here for that meeting. 7A4.
Only postpone.
An ordinance of the City of Missouri City, Texas, amending Section 4 definitions and Section 7 use districts of Appendix A of the Missouri City Code entitled the City of Missouri City Zoning Ordinance, providing rules and regulations relating to pawn shops, providing for repeal, providing a penalty, and providing for severability.
This is hopefully straightforward.
Well,
Pawn shops, yes.
not so much. Let me ask you something. Before we adopt this ordinance, I know there's been a lot of conversation in cities recently about car loan. I mean, the title loan businesses, and they are prohibiting them. Do we think that we might want to include that in this such ordinance?
Well,
The next ordinance will address credit access businesses, which are more commonly known as payday loan.
Okay, that's all right.
And pawn shops
All
are
right.
separated in the
No,
state
that's what
law.
you're calling them, okay, yeah.
So state law prohibits us from requiring specific use permits, and it also establishes that we have to create or specify a district that pawn shops are permitted in. And so what this ordinance does is specify what that district is. Traditionally, how we've treated it, we've likened it to other types, similar types of businesses, and have permitted it that way. But this would actually designate that specific use district that it's appropriate for them to locate in. Included in your notes, we've had several P&Z meetings discussing the appropriate location for pawn shops. We had a workshop in April discussing this issue, and then also the next item. P&Z recommends to allow them as a use by right in the LC3 district, which what that would mean is that they would be permitted in LC3, LC4, the BP, and the industrial districts. But LC3 would be the lowest intensity of commercial uses that a pawn shop would be permitted in. And part of the reasoning behind that has to do with the possibility for outside storage and being able to buffer that type of use from other residential uses, which LC2 and some of the lower intensity uses are commonly located adjacent to.
Where are the local LC3
LC3,
areas in the?
You see it along most of our major thoroughfares. You see it around 1092. You'll see it around Highway 6,
Anyway, you got a
largely.
service station.
Right, LC3 is the district that allows for gas stations, lounges, bars, those types of uses. So it's more so among major, there are portions of Texas Parkway that have LC3, but Texas Parkway is, and Cartwright Road is pretty much LC2 and LC1. But largely Highway 6, 1092. And then you also have the industrial district. You also have LC4, which is on the northern portion of the city.
Gessner 98.
How did this initiative come about?
To bring this forward? Looking at our codes, we get inquiries from time to time requesting what the appropriate zone is for this type of use. And in order to be consistent with state law, we presented it to P&Z to formulate a specific use district to allow them in.
You just can't prohibit it, you just have to.
You can, yeah.
You can specify where it can go, you just can't prohibit it.
Isn't there a requirement or an exclusion that you can only have one within 3,000 feet or?
Not for pawn shops.
Is that the other?
Right. For the pawn shops, it's just recommended to allow in the LC3 district, and then every other district that allows for LC3 uses. But no other stipulations are being tied to that.
Because we have none today.
Move to adopt. Second.
Motion by Councilman Wyatt, second by Councilman Emery. All those in favor? Motion carries 785.
An ordinance of the City of Missouri City, Texas, amending Section 4 definitions and Section 9 supplementary district regulations and Section 15 specific use permits of Appendix A of the Missouri City Code entitled the City of Missouri City Zoning Ordinance, providing rules and regulations relating to credit access businesses, providing for appeal, providing a penalty, and providing for severability.
And this is what was mentioned before, payday lending, auto title loans. As you probably know, I don't have to give you a history of payday lending, but it's a hot topic. A lot of communities, specifically Texas communities, are seeking to regulate because there's the state legislature has not regulated it to enough. The impact of these types of lenders on communities in terms of the amount of interest that can be applied to loans and the repetition of having to reapply for a new loan in order to cover the initial loan has had impacts on communities. The several of the major cities in Texas, Houston being recently in the news, looking at providing regulations largely on the operation of these types of businesses. A lot of these communities, Dallas was one of the first that instituted several business license requirements, caps on the amount of interest that can be applied by these businesses on consumers. But in addition to that, they've also applied some zoning regulations. And so what you have before you is recommendations from the Planning and Zoning Commission on the zoning side to control the location of these types of businesses within the city, as well as primarily to control the location. So the distance requirement that was mentioned before, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends that we limit a lot containing a business such as this from being located within 1,000 feet from another lot containing. And so what impact that would have would be essentially you wouldn't have them side by side in a shopping center or in a shopping center and a pad site right out in front of that shopping center. So to create some distance between those types of users, what we found in trends is that they tend to cluster. They're an industry that will cluster in a certain area, and so that regulation seeks to address and remove that tendency of this type of business. Additionally, the regulations, we have a definition that we would be adding to the ordinance to try to define what is meant by these types of businesses. It tracks the state definition for them. So it's commonly payday lending, auto title loans, but we have a proposed definition to include all of those. I mentioned the distance requirement. We also recommend to require a specific use permit for these types of businesses to locate within the city, prohibiting them within any district less intense than the LC3 district, and then requiring a specific use permit before they can locate within LC3, LC4, BP, and industrial.
Ed, I got to ask you, what are we planning to, what is the objective here? What are we really planning to do here with this?
The objective of this one is in regards to being able to really just kind of narrow the location of this payday lending institutions. Other cities have taken it one step closer, and Jennifer actually kind of summed this up a couple minutes ago about where they have taken a more aggressive approach at trying to regulate their usage. Now, a lot of that is being challenged in the court system, and so it's one to where, from staff's perspective, we are from the stance of let's try to regulate in regards to zoning first, and then see how the court actions will come out, and then if it is one to where our bigger cities, such as San Antonio, the Houstons, the Austins, if they prove to be victorious in their fight against or being able to regulate payday lending, then we will be able to follow their models that they've already put forward. But we're waiting to see how they come forward in regards to the legislation, but the litigation that's currently being against them.
Has this method proven to be effective at all?
This will narrow the locations. I'm not saying it's going to be effective, but I mean, that's the extent that I can tell you that what it's going to do right now.
And I will say, based on what we've heard from some of the other communities, in Dallas in particular, the zoning regulations have not been challenged to date, and also have been effective in limiting new businesses from establishing within those communities.
Where did the name credit access business come from? And I guess what confuses me, because when I was reading this, you know, I mean, I consider a bank, a credit union as a credit access business. I can assume I could borrow money on my car from a bank as collateral. You know, I mean, so, you know.
And in our
There's
ordinance,
definitions.
we've distinguished, because bank is also included as a use, and Jennifer can correct me, but I want to say it's
LC2.
LC2. So that is a distinguished entity that's separate from credit access that's currently in our zoning ordinance.
You define them as banks, savings and loans, and credit unions.
But they do some of the same function.
Oh, I know.
That's why.
But the state has defined, that title comes from the state definition for payday lending. So for payday and auto title lender industry, they are called officially credit access, what do I call it, credit access businesses.
Right.
And you know, the state could have prevented all this from happening had they tightened the regulations on the usury laws. This is what this is all about. These entities, you know, capitalize on people who have no other choice. And you hear the people get on TV and testify that, why are you trying to prevent me from having the ability to go get money to pay rent when I really need it? That's not what it's about. It's the fact that the interest rates they charge, and they're, just as I told Councilman Smith, I won't use names, there is a state representative who is the largest single owner of payday lending institutions in the state of Texas.
It should be called predator loans.
Predator loans.
That's actually one of the common names is predatory lending.
Predatory lending is that's the law that it falls under, but banks are regulated, and S&Ls and credit unions are regulated by usury laws. Payday lenders are not. They have no CRA requirements. They have no federal, they put up no FDIC. These are the things that banks and credit unions have been challenging, not only in the state but the federal level for many years. I did for 2 years when my last years with Wells Fargo. We were in Austin and in Washington D.C. going, these guys are banks, but they don't have the same requirements as banks. So I think they're putting the burden back on the cities now to try to do what they didn't have the guts to do, in my opinion.
Now, we had notice of public hearings for both this and the prior, and as I recall, there weren't any.
No.
You're not going to have anybody.
Anybody show him?
Nah.
Yeah, and keeping in mind that.
They're not prohibiting it.
I think three of the P and Z meetings for this topic were also public hearings.
Again, we're not prohibiting it, we're just saying where it should be. And basically, pawn shops are lending, they're predatory lenders as well because they charge a percentage when you pawn your stuff. They ought to be included in that limit of how close a pawn shop can be to a credit access lender as well, because they're the same thing. They're not regulated by usury laws either.
Do we have a motion? How you defining a lot?
A lot, a platted reserve, a platted lot, a platted tract. So it would be, like a shopping center may be on one platted reserve, and then each pad site may be on separate platted reserves. So it would be.
If I bought a
platted.
lot down here in Fieldcrest, and I bought that lot, and then I bought a lot that, 'cause there were some empty lots, and I placed the business just right.
Yeah, and I will say we have it defined. Our zoning ordinance does define lot. It defines a lot of record. So there are specific definitions of what would be considered a lot.
Files. I need a motion.
I made a motion.
Second.
Councilman Emery made the motion, Mayor Pro Tem Wyatt made the second. All those in favor, motion carried. Item 7B are public hearings and related actions. There are none. 8A are appointments. 8A is to consider appointing members to the Transportation Policy Council and the Technical Advisory Committee for the Houston Galveston Area Council. Are you up for it?
We're up for it.
Huh? Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
What was your motion?
You got to put the
Move to
names in.
appoint Scott
Scott.
and
John Scott.
And Val.
Valerie
And Val.
Rudamari.
Okay. And they're willing to serve. All those in favor? Motion carries. All right, 8B is consider appointing members of the Board of Directors for each of the tax increment reinvestment zones.
Mayor and council, I did have an opportunity to find an answer to the question that was brought up in the special meeting. If you desire at this time, there is no legal impediment for holding those two offices.
All right. Is there a motion? Somebody making a motion here on some of these? Huh?
Well, let's do tiers 1, because we got to have the names.
Yeah.
I know. TERS 1.
TERS 1.
I make a motion to appoint for TERS 1, Vicky McBride.
I second that.
To which position?
Trust one.
Is it position 1?
position 1. Yes.
Yes, it was position 1, I believe.
Yep.
Yes, it was position 1.
Who seconded? Councilman Wynn?
Yes, sir.
And you got to do the others?
There was a motion and a second and for that one, for the position 1 on the TERS 1 board.
Yes.
Okay, so there are currently 3 positions that are up.
Yeah.
There's also an opening, for position number 3 and position number 5, which is currently occupied by Lynn Goff, position 3, and David Hamner, position 5.
I move to renew the Lynn Goff for position number 3.
Second.
And we already have one motion on the
Yeah,
table, so
all those in
if you'll
favor?
amend that to,
Yeah.
for the
Yeah,
slate.
you want to amend that to add those others? While you're
Can
on
you add all
TERS
3 of
1?
them?
If you so desire.
Yeah, that's fine. I make a motion to amend to add Lynn Goff and David Hammer
Yeah, Hammer.
for TERS 1.
Okay, in their current positions?
Yes, for their current positions.
All right, your second?
Yes, I second
And that takes
With
care
amendment.
of TERS 1. All those in favor? Motion carries. TERS 2.
So we also need a chairman for the TERS 1 board.
I make a motion that Lynn Goff is the chairman. He's the interim chairman at this point.
interim chairman
Lynn
now.
Goff.
He's the interim chair until December 31st, 2013.
I move that we nominate Lynn Goff as the chairman for TERS 1, beginning at the beginning of the term.
It would be 1/1 of 14.
It would be for a one-year term
Right.
beginning January 1st, 2014.
He would continue in the interim position until the end of this month and then would serve a full year as chairman, right? Okay. Been a second? Who seconded it?
Did you second?
Second.
I'll second.
Second.
Who made the second?
Councilman 3 seconds. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay. TERS 2.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Frank Hester for position number 3. He's one of the candidates, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And no.
For the TERS 2 board, there are currently 3 positions that are up. Position 1, which is currently occupied by Ron Lee. Position 3, Frank Hester. Position 5, Buford Jurica.
We only discussed Frank.
And council can either nominate an individual position or nominate the slate.
So your motion is to nominate the
My
slate?
motion is to nominate the slate.
I second that. All right.
Okay,
And Councilman Allen Cat seconded that.
That sure made it easy.
and to clarify those names, though, for each position.
For position 1 is Ron Lee. For position 2 is Thomas Alterburn. John Harberneck is for position 4.
No, they're not up.
And 2 and 4 are
I'm
only
sorry,
odd numbers.
Buford Janika is for interim position 5.
Right.
And Grayland Poe?
No, Frank Hester.
So this is just 1, 3, and 5.
So, and your motion would be that Frank Hester would be the chairman?
The chair, yes.
For those terms.
And this is for terms commencing January 1,
Think you're gonna
2014,
put her on
expiring
3.
December 31, 2015.
I think. Yes. Because you're putting her on 3, right?
Yes.
All right, so there was a motion by Councilman Smith, a
And that-
second by Councilman Ellencat. He did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Understand it?
Yes.
All those in favor? Motion carries. TERS 3.
And we also need a chair for
Yeah,
TERS 2.
they did. That was-
Okay.
Yeah.
Frank Hester.
Thank you.
Yeah, Frank Hester. All right, 3.
I move to place Joyce Rayner as position 3 in the TERS position.
Let's see, we got, yeah.
And the rest of the slate remain the same, including the chairman.
Okay, for position 1 is Ron Lee.
Yes.
Position 3 is David Reitz.
Right.
Position 3 is Marshall Witchard,
Five.
which declined serving a 2-year
No,
term.
no, position 5
Position
is
5
the one
becomes
that is, and he is not asking to be renewed.
That's correct.
So that's where he is putting
Okay.
Joyce Rayner.
Joyce Rayner.
And Sharon Drika for position 9.
Yes. That's your motion, eh?
Yes.
The second?
Second.
Councilman Wynn? And the chairman is in your motion?
Yes.
Is
Stay the same, Ron Lee.
Ron Lee.
State's chairman.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Good. You got all the TERS taken.
To clarify, Councilmember Don Smith, that you were moved to appoint interim positions until December 31st, and then regular positions for these
Yes.
current members to begin January. Okay.
You got it. And the chairman, interim until 1 and then permanent. Yep.
Yes.
And we'll discuss the others later. Very good. Item 9 are authorizations. 9A is to consider authorizing execution of an interlocal agreement for regional road improvements for the extension of Vicksburg Boulevard among Fort Bend County, the City of Missouri City, Reinvestment Zone Number 2, City of Missouri City, Missouri City Development Authority, Fort Bend County Municipal Utility District 47, Fort Bend Municipal District 48. Your motion?
I move to adopt, Mayor.
Second.
Second by Councilman Wynn.
What
All
is
those-
the,
Huh?
why are we doing this?
I'll answer that in a second, but real quick, I need to recognize Donna Gilblain, who with Mud 48. who's here in the
Oh,
audience.
back there hiding on the back row.
She managed to sit through the whole agenda.
Oh, goodness.
And of course, Rich Muller, the attorney from
He doesn't
38
care.
as well.
He's
on the clock for this.
We didn't see her.
Yeah. But about 3-4 years ago, Fort Bend County paid for the engineering of the extension of Vicksburg Boulevard. They have since come back to us and started talking about the actual construction of it, and we put together a group. One of the big issues we have from a mobility standpoint is the intersection of Fort Bend Toll Road, Highway 6 intersection. This would provide an alternative route that would help relieve that intersection's congestion and get people to the toll road through the north half, going north instead of going south through that big intersection out there. So it does have a big mobility benefit. Fort Bend County would contribute $1 million without reimbursement. They'd contribute another $530,000 that would be reimbursed with interest by the TERS on that. MUDs 47 and 48 would provide funding for sidewalks and drainage, currently estimated at about, sorry, real quick, I believe it was about $783,000 on that. There is some additional costs that, depending upon how the timing of the contract, that the city may end up fronting $43,000 for some of the uncovered costs that would be reimbursed by the TERS. The city would also be on the hook for any cost overruns that are not in an area that MUD 47 and 48 are bearing those costs on that. Staff does recommend approval.
Any other questions? Answer yours, Terry.
And the cost overrun, if the city has to take that up, that would come from TERS 2?
It would be reimbursed, the city would be in the for the reimbursement, it would come from TERS 2. But if there are cost overruns, then of course it would be fronted from CIP funds until the reimbursement occurs on that.
Okay, I just want to make, so when somebody pick this up and read this, it don't sound like the city is actually putting out money other than money that is going to get back.
Okay. No other questions, we'll vote. The motion is by Smith, the second by Wynn. All those in favor, motion carries. Item 10, ordinances, there are none. Thank you, ladies, for coming, and you too. 11A, resolution.
Of the City Council of the City of Missouri City, Texas, authorizing the publication of the notice of intention to issue City of Missouri City, Texas certificates of obligation in a principal amount not to exceed $1.2 million for the purchase of a fire truck and any items related thereto, and for the payment of contractual obligations for professional services, authorizing the distribution of a preliminary official statement relating to such certificates and containing other provisions relating thereto.
Motion.
Is this the replacement fire truck?
Yes.
And this is for the one that recently broke down?
Yes.
That we couldn't fix? This is not for Sienna?
It is not for Sienna.
Okay.
Yeah, right. It's engine 3131.
Yeah, okay.
3131.
And this is just the notice of intent, and we'll be back next meeting for an item for the purchase of the fire truck and advance blanking.
Reimbursement? No.
Yes.
Reimbursement resolution.
Yes, reimbursement resolution.
We get anything for the old one? Are we able to use it? Are we going to do something with it?
That'll be parts.
We going to use it for parts? What?
The plan for the old one that we'll be removing from the fleet is to trade it in on the purchase and get some credit back on the purchase of the new truck.
And we still are going to be out $1.2 million?
A little bit less than that.
Yeah, it's more like $1 million.
So we're getting a couple $100,000 trade-in on it?
No. The total truck will be.
Oh.
The total truck, now you're asking me to pull it off of memory, it's going to be right at $1 million.
But you get some discounts for paying up front, which we plan on doing. So we won't borrow as much on the CO.
Are we talking about $1 million net of the trade-in? That's what I'm trying to get to, guys. What you gonna-
953 net of the trade.
Net of the trade-in.
953?
953,000.
So Quint?
Yes, sir.
Okay. People don't realize these toys cost money.
Yes,
And,
sir.
and this is a toy we really need.
Yeah, this is a toy we unfortunately need all the time, so. All right, been a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Wyatt, second by Councilman Emery. All those in favor, motion carries. Item 11B is consider a resolution adopting a bicycle pedestrian mobility plan.
Yes.
I just whispered to Councilman Smith, since Senator Ellis enjoyed his bike ride so much.
Really?
Oh, yes.
I'm glad to hear that. You know,
We're going to go to him and let him help find some money for this plan.
Well, I was thinking, you know, what a fortunate coincidence that this item would be on the agenda today
Yeah.
after a community bike ride like that. In fact, that is a prime example of one of the elements that we did add to the plan after we presented it to you in July. It was asked of us whether or not we had any more not necessarily policy related, but non-physical related suggestions or recommendations in the plan. And we added what we call the 5 E's, engineering, education, encouragement, enforcement, evaluation, and economy. Those are different aspects that can come together to promote a healthy community. And a community bike ride and public outreach like that.
The other E is exercise.
Yeah. You'd also asked
Both.
What the top 5 projects might be out of the plan, and we looked at it from the perspective of what's easy to implement, such as low-hanging fruit, low-cost items. You see the locations that we put up on the screen, but primarily what that is would include pavement striping. For example, to either take the very wide pavement and designate a small space for bicycle lane, for example. And that's primarily what we've changed or addressed since we presented to you in July.
Like Glen Lake, so you've got the lane there already on both sides that you would just stripe for bicycle.
We could.
When we do that, are we going to prohibit parking in that bike lane? Because I know there's a lot of parking along Glen Lakes.
And
There's a number of different ways you can implement it, but probably one of the lead ones would be to have a regular travel lane for vehicles, then a bike lane, and then a parking lane, and have the bike lane delineated in between those two. That would, it's hard to keep people from parking in front of their homes, and so many of those homes front. But we could do that and take a look. We're going to have to look at the geometrics of the road, but have a separate delineated bike lane in there.
There's enough width to do that.
There should be. Yes, sir.
Scott, I have a question.
Say that again. I mean, what are the 3
You would start, and the center lanes would be a travel lane for vehicles.
Okay.
You'd have a 3 to 4 foot bike lane, and then you'd have a smaller 8 foot or so parking lane.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about the bike lane would be next to the esplanades?
No, sir. It'd be in between the travel lane and the parking lane.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I thought they'd be, yeah.
So I guess the only question I have is, you know, there is already an existing one off of Columbia Blue.
There
So
is.
how would you create what you were just talking about now? It's not even wide enough to have that, right?
On Columbia Blue?
Yeah.
No, it is wide enough, and we did that in-house.
To have the parking and then.
On Columbia Blue, it's a much narrower street.
Yeah, you don't
Columbia
have
Blue,
parking there.
Yeah, you have 2 24-foot lanes on Glen Lakes. You only have 41-foot total on Columbia Blue, and in some areas it's smaller than that. That's why we didn't continue that bike lane in front of the elementary school, because we don't have the width.
So for that area, that area that has this, so it will remain?
It would remain, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we are looking at some other implementation based upon feedback we've gotten from residents in other areas of the city as well that are pretty easy from a striping standpoint.
And hopefully that would connect to where we're connecting the rest of it to, right?
Yes, sir. The plan would be ultimately that we'd have a comprehensive bike network throughout the city.
Well, with these right here, these 5, do they connect in any way to each other?
I don't think so.
That's my question is,
well-
what is creating a bike lane along Glen Lakes from
There are
Community
two
Park to Highway
answers
6?
to that, and one of them is, bicycles are legal vehicles on any city
Right.
street on that. Where you really get into the delineation of laneage is when you have the larger
Major
streets with the
thoroughfares.
major thoroughfares, the larger major
I got you.
collectors, where we would really end up with the delineation on that. So even though there may not be a marked connector on something like Crow Valley, it is still a connector that could be utilized on that.
Scott, I think also, and Houston just passed this ordinance, a vehicle passing ordinance, that I think has to be incorporated in all of this thinking as well. I think
It's something
Houston
that
is
we can
when you
incorporate
pass
in the overall concept, but it wouldn't be part of that necessarily the plan, because that would be a kind of an administrative implementation. So that's something we could look at.
Yeah.
Scott, are there any areas now where we have parking in front of homes that we would be eliminating that in lieu of a bicycle lane?
We would be very resistant to eliminate parking in front of homes.
Yeah, okay.
To do that.
Okay.
It's just telling people you can't have a party or a get-together at their house because you can't park in front of the home is not well received normally. on that.
I just want to make sure that people understand that they don't think all of a sudden they're not going to be able to park in front of their house because they're putting a bicycle lane in.
That's correct.
Okay.
What does this really do for us?
It
I mean, I see the different plans. I see them very isolated. I don't see them connected. I don't see a big city picture.
Well, the plan, this is just one snapshot.
Yeah, then the full plan covers as far as the big city picture. But the intent with this one is
Just to answer a question.
This is something we could do very soon with very low amount of money. The full plan shows over the next 20 years how you could then really, as far as connect everything together.
Yes, sir.
This was just a sample that's pulled from there for just council's knowledge and to know how kind of an easy fix to, and I shouldn't say easy, I mean, there's still some cost to this, but how you can start as far as the implementation of the plan.
And then,
So most of those bike lanes are where?
well, in the plan, they're citywide, throughout the city. This was just an example of an easy implementation that we put forth. We have other possibilities that we can look at this same type of implementation, and that would be, for example, in the Fondren Park, Fond Meadow area, that we could look in that along McLean Boulevard, similar to Glen Lakes. You have it's almost an exact duplicate of Glen Lakes out there. We could look at that same type of easy concept on that. But the whole plan does cover the entire city on that.
And it does connect to our trails, right?
Yes, and it does. And it also,
say you have some money.
and that is one of the benefits of having this plan.
Right.
One, HGAC helped fund this plan. Two, I'm sorry. It was a different plan I was thinking about. But by adopting this plan via resolution by council, this gives us an official document that we can go and say council's in support of and apply for grant funding for HGAC for whether it's livable centers funding or bike ped funding or anything else out there.
I thought back in July, we discussed using some centers of activity to bring people to by way of bike trails.
And that is in the plan. For example, the
What
tennis.
what I see here is just only a couple communities that are benefiting from what's being put before us tonight.
But this isn't what being put, you got a 90-page document that's actually being put before y'all tonight. This is just, how do we start with the implementation of it with no money, just through this type of process?
And what I'm saying is, I like to see the whole big picture. Where are we going to go? We can start here, but where are we going in the future? Let me finish. I've seen this more times than you. I've seen these plans many more times than you are, and Alan has too. But it'd be good to have an end result out there that we can link together as to where we are going.
That's what I'm saying, you have it.
Huh?
It's in there.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Hit 11B. They have the whole thing. They have the whole brochure. I was just looking at it.
Whole thing. If you look at it, it's wine, but it doesn't go anywhere.
It does.
We have on page.
Here it is, right here.
On
Got
page
the whole thing.
7 of the study, starts off showing how the major destinations and connections, just like was being discussed, kind of shows what are those kind of major routes that you want to start looking at trying to connect and create through the city.
Scott, I'm beginning to do some research, and I'm dangerous now, man. I'm just a little honest.
Yeah.
And I think,
Yeah.
and I think that with this overall comprehensive bike network, there are different type of bike networks, you know, and that's the part that I'm looking to see. You got the street and road bikes, and you also got that also has to be considered, and I'm sure that's part of the thinking process.
Sure, I totally agree with you. There are very many different types of bike networks, and over the last 15, 20 years, philosophies have changed. For example, on-street bike lanes used to be a no-no. Now they've become a lot more accepted on that. But you also have different users on that. You have the recreational users, you have a transportation type user, and then you have the hard bicyclist type user who wants to get in and ride to Rocheron and stuff on that. So trying to accommodate all those users, and that's one of the reasons why we still have a separate trails plan that the Parks Department is working on, because it's a recreational type facility versus a transportation type facility on that. So we are trying to accommodate all the different users and the different types of facilities.
And Fort Worth has made a great transition over the last 5 or 6 years with the mayor. They've come from I hope they don't mind me saying, a country town to where they kind of urbanized and they have a real good bike system.
The person who worked on that plan is here today.
Is that right?
He's a consultant that helped us.
The country guy said.
He called you country.
We've been privileged over the last 6 or 7 years to implement and work on the Bike Forward plan, and we used some of the plan started in the central city and it started moving out. That's kind of the same philosophy we somewhat use for the high priority projects, is you have to look where the density is and build out. That's why when you see the priority projects, you usually see it near the city center, kind of go outwards.
Yeah.
So the low hanging fruit.
And it's a lot cheaper to use existing thoroughfare for street bikes than it is build trails and
Correct.
Okay, did you get government funds for any of that?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Some of it was TIF funded.
Yeah.
And some of it was grants. Some of the surrounding cities in the Metroplex have applied to the Transportation Enhancement Grant, which was funded through TxDOT to build a lot of their trails and on-street system as well.
It's there.
Okay.
You just got to have a plan to apply for it.
Correct.
And actually, I'd like to add, if you don't mind, that transportation enhancement funding, that application process is very, very exclusive, and it's very hard to get approved for funding in that program. So to have a plan like this is absolutely essential.
Would it help to have a senator spearheading the thing?
Couldn't hurt.
Yeah.
An endorsement letter always works.
Yeah.
Valerie, I have a question. On your package here, you have a 92-page that says bicycle and pedestrian mobility plan. Does that include the master plan, what Councilmember Wyatt was talking about? Was this the plan, or is there another plan?
This is the comprehensive mobility plan.
That shows all of our streets, that shows our district by citywide, shows where it connects.
Yes.
So this is the plan?
Yes.
All right. Because I'm confused, because I don't know what he was talking about.
It's there.
Can you extract that so we can put it in Dropbox?
Yeah.
I'm sure we could.
Yeah, I can
There's a lot of pages.
Put in the Dropbox.
Yeah, and
You want the whole, yeah, 'cause I think we need
Shows
to
everything.
use that to go to him with. Because I bet there's some federal money too.
and we'll be putting together hard copies for your reference as well.
Sure.
Okay.
Very good.
Very good. Councilman Smith made the motion. I don't know who. Councilman Ellencat made the second. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item 11C,
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Missouri City, Texas, selecting a representative and an alternate to the Houston-Galveston Area Council 2014 General Assembly, selecting a representative and an alternate to the Houston-Galveston Area Council 2014 Board of Directors, and providing for repeal.
Are you doing that?
Yeah, provided the opportunity, I'll continue as representative as long as I can meet Mr. Smith's high standards that he's set for me lately.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Huh?
So moved.
Second.
And an alternate?
Danny was the alternate, and Danny, you still
Yes, I'd like to
interested?
All right, so there's been a motion by Councilman Ellencat, second by Councilman Smith to elect, or to nominate Councilman Emery as the representative and Councilman Nguyen as the alternate to the Board of Directors. All right? All those in favor? Motion carried.
Let's go celebrate.
Huh?
Let's go celebrate.
Right. The only announcement we have, I'll get you to give a report on the bike ride in a minute. Snowfest, Friday night, free lighting, parade, Saturday morning. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock, the ribbon cutting to open LJ Parkway connection into Sienna. It's to Sienna Springs. If you want to come to that, it's going to be on the Riverstone side of the bridge. Go down University all the way to LJ Parkway, turn left, and you'll find it because you can't cross the bridge unless you see the people there. So that's tomorrow at 4. And then you want to say a little something about the bike ride yesterday?
Yes, we had beautiful weather, and Frank, I want to mention that's because of my intimate relationship with the weatherman. I'd like to thank a few people, and I hope this doesn't sound too I'm taking some liberties here. Sugar Cycle and a lady named Terry Gill, who we couldn't have done it without her, and Leonetti contributed T-shirts, Niagara Bottling,
I'll be gone.
Fiesta,
I don't
and
intend to
Kolache
stay here all
Factory.
day with them.
And my thanks to Larry Foose, I guess he's not here, in the Parks Department, Stacy in the Communication Department. It was really nice to, in a short length of time, that we put this together, and we had about 30 or 40 some people who came out, and it was a wonderful event. We had a chance to not only see neighbors who brought their kids in trailers on bicycles. They had the dogs in trailers on bicycles. And with the exception of the mayor trying to outrun everybody on the bicycle, we had a very nice
I was trying to keep up with the senator.
Also, Senator Ellis, he enjoyed himself, and we were really proud of that. And hopefully we'll take advantage of this and get him to not only participate but also contribute to our next year ride. And that's what I want to lead up to. I envision this being a major ride. I envision us 200 or 300 or 400 and some people leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning and touring Sienna and Riverstone and making this an annual event to bring positive attention to Missouri City. So with the help of staff, heads, and the Parks Department and everybody else we can come up with to help bring this thing, I think we can do well with this. Thank you, folks.
That's great. Yeah. Any other announcements? All right. Do we have executive?
We do not.
Very good. Approved.
We signed copies of Vicksburg, because I can get those to Calvin.
Yeah.
Is that Vicksburg?